Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk, live and direct on a Tuesday. Good afternoon. We've got 3 hours and change of 580 Sports Talk today ahead of Royals baseball here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and live on video on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News. However you are consuming the program today, thanks for being along for the ride here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski with you to start off. Spencer Dupuis will be along later on. Jam-packed show for you today. Lots of Royals to get to as they try to snap their 6-game skid tonight with the first of 3 games against a team that is in some ways a bit of a mirror image, the Texas Rangers. The two teams meeting at Globe Life Field tonight. I always get them confused because they had changed the name of the ballpark at Arlington to Globe Life Park before they unnecessarily closed it down and built the new place. It has all the personality of a tough shed. And now this one is Globe Life Field. The new one is Field. The old one is Park. Anyhow, that is where the Royals will be in action tonight. Pre-game coverage starting at 6:30 on the Royals Baseball Network. We'll have some overtime for you tonight. But during the show today, we'll talk about the Royals and the persistent power problem that this team has had. Where have all the home runs gone? And some interesting data and interesting evidence to show why a Royals team that was not a great power team last year, but like acceptable, close to league average, close to the middle of the pack in home runs, has fallen so home run category in 2025. Why aren't the Royals hitting home runs? That's the question. Not one simple answer. There's not one weird trick. It's a bunch of things. Some the Royals really don't have any control over. So we'll talk about that. We'll preview their series against the Rangers, preview game 1 of the series tonight. Chris Bubich and Jack Leiter, the scheduled starting pitchers. Sorry, Seth Lugo and Jack Leiter. My mistake. It is Lugo tonight for the Royals and not Bubich. And Jack Leiter to go for the Rangers.
Which Leiter is he the son of?
He is Al. I don't know that he's Al's son. He might be Mark's other son. Mark Leiter Jr. obviously pitches for the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
No, he is Al's son.
Okay,
he is Al's son. Yeah, he is Al's son. And Mark's nephew.
Mark's other son is very funny.
Well, you know that's kind of what the
second of my 2 awful sons.
Well, Jack was the second overall pick in the draft. Mark was the 22nd rounder. Mark Jr. That has grinded his way into a solid big league career as a reliever in his 30s. It really didn't happen for him until 2022 with the Cubs. He never really earned a foothold in the major leagues, but
he was useful.
Yeah, since then he's been a perfectly solid relief option. He's really erupted since the 2023 season is when he really took off. But Jack certainly the higher prospect pedigree in his first full season in the major leagues and pitching decently for a 500 Rangers team, right? 500 on the nose, 36 and 36. So we'll get to that a little bit later on.
Owls anymore.
No, we're running low on Owls and Bobs and Toms.
You know who else we're running low on? Dave's.
Every
David I know goes by David.
Yeah, there's not a lot
Dudes
of...
don't go by Dave anymore.
I'm going to do a little hunting here. Are there any active big league Daves? There are well over 100 Daves in the baseball reference database, but it doesn't look like any of them are active.
Yeah, there's no dudes named Dave these days.
It looks like our most recent one, there was Dave Sapelt.
Dave Sapelt, oh yeah.
Cub great.
Yeah, I remember him.
Coastal Carolina great. Go Chance. Yeah, Dave Sapelt, former, I should have used him on the grid today for a Red and a Cub. But yeah, not a lot of
Sean Marshall.
Not a lot of active Daves. Dave Island hung it up in 2020. He's been a pitching coach for a long time now. Dave Berg was last active in 2004. Yeah, all the Daves are going by David.
Dudes who would have once been Bob are now Robert or Bobby.
Yeah, Daves are in the front office or in the dugout now, like Dave Roberts, Dave Stewart.
Dombrowski.
Yeah.
Is he still kicking around?
Dave Dombrowski? I'm sure he's working for somebody.
Is he ruining someone's team these days?
He doesn't ruin them right away.
Takes a little while.
In fact, the early returns can be outstanding. Yeah, he's still with the Phillies.
No, good for him.
Yeah, he's still with the Phillies. Anyway, yeah, good point. We don't have a lot of owls going around.
You can call me Al.
Yeah, be your bodyguard or your long lost pal. Lots of Royals to get to on today's show.
Any of those other sports talk shows bringing you Paul Simon today? Nope.
That's a good song.
It is a good song.
Calm
Great
down.
song.
We're going to talk some football today as well. Mandatory minicamp underway for the Chiefs. First of 3 days of Chiefs minicamp. Everybody's there. Everybody important is there with respect to Trey Watson, who was not present today and who I did not know was a real person and B, on the team. Everybody was there, including Trey Smith. He does not have a long-term deal done, but he was there. Travis Kelce was there. Everybody's going through some kind of work today. Everybody at minicamp. The countdown reaches 80 days until the Chiefs kick off the 2025 season. That means there are Elijah Badger days until Chiefs kick off. And we'll talk about Elijah Badger, who was a Gator, not a Badger in college, went to Florida.
I think Gators would eat badgers generally.
According to whatbadgerseat.com. Badger my ass. It's probably Millhouse. Simpsons quotes in the first segment. Yeah, we're having a good time today. Elijah Badger days until Chiefs kickoff. We'll talk about him, why he has a chance to be a training camp darling, and why Lance Zierlein of NFL.com thinks that there is legitimate NFL potential in the undrafted free agent out of Florida. We'll get there. We're going to talk some Big 12 football today as well. There will be time to power rank the Big 12 teams. Media days are coming up. Media days are in about 4 weeks now, out at the Star in Frisco. So there'll be obviously lots of media days content here on 580 Sports Talk, and there'll be the preseason poll. We'll get a sense of what everybody thinks the order of finish will be in the Big 12. I'm not interested in that today. What I'm interested in, which teams are interesting. Who are the most intriguing teams in the Big 12 for 2025? As we sit here on June 17th with kickoff of the season about, 8-9 weeks away, who are the most intriguing, interesting Big 12 teams? That could be good. That could be bad. That could be car wreck potential. That could be conference championship potential. Whatever your definition of intriguing is, I want to know from you. We're going to share our top 5 most interesting Big 12 football teams looking ahead to 2025. And we'll get Michael Swain's thoughts when he joins us for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, will check in with us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hours. He does every Tuesday for Jayhawk Weekly. Plus, everything else you've come to know and love from a Tuesday edition of the show. We got our 580 Sports Talk headlines, top of the 5 o'clock hour. We have What Is Wrong With You toward the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We'll do Random Question Tuesday later on this hour. And we want to hear from you as we go along today. You can text the program 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the comments, the live chat on our YouTube stream. Again, you can watch us every day on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. You can even watch us literally every day. Even days we don't have a show, you can go back and watch back episodes of the show on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And if you are watching live, there is a live chat feature. You can jump in there, interact with us, and interact with your fellow listeners. A good afternoon to Christopher. Mark H. is in. Ryan Vance. A lot of our regulars are in today. Happy to see all of you. Looking forward to seeing more of you as we go along in that YouTube chat. Again, the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Where have all the dingers gone? That's the less popular of Paula Cole's mid-90s country
You
hits.
spoiled the bit. I literally have it queued up.
Do you really?
I have it right here. I need the Dan, I need the name of the segment again.
Where have all the dingers gone? Where is the Royals' happy ending? Where have all the dingers gone? That's really well done. Thank you for that.
That's great.
Thank you for
where
that.
have all the Cowboys gone, or I don't want to wait?
Where have all the Cowboys gone?
Not a Dawson's Creek fan?
Absolutely. No,
My sister was. When I was a kid, a lot of summer mornings, no school, a lot of Dawson's Creek in our house.
I can believe it. Not so much in a house of all boys.
No, I believe that as well.
Anyway, why aren't the Royals hitting any home runs? We know it's a problem. The Royals are dead last in Major League Baseball, 46 home runs on the season. To give you an idea, that is 1.7% of Royals plate appearances ending in home runs this season. The league average is about 3.8% of plate appearances end in a home run. And the Royals are at 1.7%. That is not anywhere near where they were last year when they were at 3.1% of their plate appearances ending in home runs. They hit 170 home runs last year. That wasn't great shakes. It tied them for 20 in Major League Baseball. I think they were tied with the Cubs. That's not world beating. It's not the Bronx Bombers or anything like that. But for a team that plays its games at Kauffman Stadium, you understand power is going to be a little bit limited. 170 home runs last year. Royals won 86 games with that. There's more than one way to skin a cat and win a ball game. And famously, the 2014 pennant-winning Royals didn't even reach triple digits. They hit 95 home runs as a team. But Major League Baseball in 2025 is different than Major League Baseball in 2014. It doesn't feel like that was that long ago, but 11 years is a long time as baseball has moved towards more and more of a power game. But the Royals hit 170 home runs last year, and this year they're on pace for about 104. So where'd they all go? It's instructive to look at last year's roster, who hit all the home runs. Bobby Witt Jr. led the team with 32 home runs. Salvador Perez knocked 27. Vinny Pasquantino had 19. Those are your big boys, right? Those are the guys where you expect the power production. And 78 of the 170 Royals home runs, around 45% or so, belonged to the Royals' big three offensively. They got 61 home runs by my count from the other regulars on the team, the everyday players. 17 home runs from MJ Melendez, 15 from Hunter Renfroe. Michael Massey hit 14 home runs. Kyle Isbell had 8 home runs. Maikel Garcia added 7 home runs. And then the rest of the team hit 31. The rest of the team being Freddie Fermin, who had 6 homers, Dairon Blanco with 4, Nick Lofton's first big league home run last year, and then 20 home runs between guys who are not on the 2025 roster. 8 for Nelly Velasquez, 6 for Paul DeJong, 4 for Adam Frazier, 2 for Tommy Pham. Those are the 170 home runs for the 2024 Kansas City Royals, all accounted for. They've got 46 so far this year. Vinny Pasquantino leads the team with 10. He's on pace for 23. He's the one guy among the big dogs that has actually seen a bit of an increase in his home runs per plate appearance totals so far this season. Bobby Witt Jr. has just 8 home runs, putting him on pace for 18. Salvador Perez is at 6 home runs, on pace for 14, which would be, if not a career low, pretty darn close. 24 of the Royals' 46 home runs, more than half, have come from the big three. So not only are the Royals more reliant on home runs from their best guys are hitting fewer home runs.
For what it's worth, Salvador Perez in a full season, his career low in homers is 13. He hit 3 in 39 games in 2011. He hit 11 in 76 games in 2012. He obviously would have smashed that.
Sure.
But yeah, he hit 13 in 2013, 17 the next year. 2020 doesn't count. He's been up at 21 or more ever since.
The other home runs for the Royals this year, Maikel Garcia has 7 of them. Kyle Isbell has 3. He's on pace to basically hit as many as he did last year. Michael Massey with 2, Freddie Fermin with 2, 1 apiece for MJ Melendez, Nick Lofton, and Drew Waters. Freddie Forgot to mention 3 for Jonathan India, and then 1 apiece for guys who are currently in the minor leagues, Kevin Biggio and Luke Maile. So why aren't the Royals? We know that the numbers are down. We see that a big part of the reason they're down is because there were 6 double-digit home run hitters on the Royals last year, and barring something miraculous, those guys aren't even going to combine for double-digit home runs for the Royals this season. That being MJ Melendez, Hunter Renfroe, and Michael Massey. Those guys combined for 46 home runs last year. They have combined for 3 this season. Hunter Renfroe did not hit one before he was DFA'd. MJ Melendez had hit just 1 before he was sent down to AAA. And while the results have gotten slightly better for MJ, they've not gotten dramatically better to the point where you feel like he's going to be back in left field regularly anytime soon. Michael Massey hit just 2. He's on the injured list, and I don't know, even when he does return, what the path to regular playing time looks like for him, as he was starting to be usurped from the everyday lineup before he ended up on the IL. So that's a big, big reason. That's one reason. It's just steps back from the complimentary guys. That's 46 home runs from 3 everyday players, your left fielder, your right fielder, your second baseman. This year for the Royals, you've got Jonathan India in that role with 3 home runs. You have 1 home run for MJ, 2 home runs for Massey, and Hunter Renfroe no longer with the club. That's a huge, huge step in the wrong direction. Some of the other reasons the Royals aren't hitting home runs. Well, part of it's the ball's fault. Don't know if you saw this study from The Athletic, Brendan. There's more drag on the ball this year.
I did see this.
Baseballs are traveling an average of 4 feet shorter in the air than they did last year. And as a result, home runs as a percentage of fly balls hit are at an 8-year low.
So I need you to answer this question for me. This has been a problem for not necessarily this particular issue, but the actual ball.
The inconsistency of the baseball.
7 years in a row?
Going back to 2019 when they put
2019, okay.
Yeah, I think 2019 was the first time we started to notice, hey, man, something's weird. Something weird's happening here. That was the year where essentially they put Titleist Pro V1s into play, and the Twins hit 300 home runs as a team. And the power numbers were insane. Go look at how many home runs Jonathan India hit in 2019. Career high.
Well,
go look at Hunter Dozier's power numbers from 2019. Career high.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking of, because that's the year Jorge Soler clubbed 48.
Right.
Which was ridiculous. And he had never been that kind of guy before. Hunter Dozier in his entire career was worth negative 2.8 wins above replacement in 7 years. He was worth positive 2.7 in 2019. He hit 26 home runs, had 10 triples, 29 doubles. He had an 870 OPS. He never even
fake.
Got to visit that as a tourist the rest of his career. So this has been a problem for years. And it's always, well, the balls are juiced. Well, now the balls are dead. Well, now the seams are too big. Well, now something's wrong with the mud that some weird guy in the Amazon rubs on the ball every year. Is this new? Like, did baseball just decide to, like, jerry-rig the game at some point in either 2018 or 2019? Or is this just the effect of, now that we have StatCast and Baseball Savant, we can say, hey, why are the balls flying differently? Like, was baseball always like this and we just didn't have the data for it? Or was this Rob Manfred saying, you know what would be smart? Ruining the game.
Well,
yes, but this particular issue, though.
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, it's probably the kind of thing that we are now able to pay more attention to in what we refer to as the StatCast era.
Because I understand Rob Manfred's claim that, well, every ball is hand stitched. Andrew McCutcheon said that last week on Twitter, right? He said, because somebody brought up, I think it was Ben Verlander of all people. It's like, hey, what's wrong with the baseballs? Why aren't these home runs? And Andrew McCutcheon went on Twitter, or formerly known as Twitter, now X, the Everything app, and said, I asked someone at MLB, and they said that there's more drag on the ball because the stitches are higher, and that it's not something they can fix this year, but they're aware of it. And he mentioned that every ball, MLB said this, every single ball is hand stitched, so it's hard to get it like perfectly accurate.
Consistent, sure.
Okay, answer me this then. Why don't we have this problem in football where, like, for septuagenarians make every single football that the NFL uses in a single season. And outside of Tom Brady, like taking an air pump to a few of them before a game a decade ago, we never have this problem in football. But baseball, every year, oh yeah, by the way, they're effectively hitting a redskin potato this year. Why does this keep happening?
I don't know. It's a great question. There's been lots of fluctuations with the quality of the ball, the drag effect on the ball. But this year, that is contributing to power being down across the league. So that's part of the reason why the Royals hit fewer home runs than you would expect. There's another reason. Dumb luck. And that's very unsatisfying, but that categorizes itself in two ways. Jesse Newell put this on X, the Everything app. It all happens on X yesterday. I thought this was fascinating. The Royals' right-handed batters, just looking at the right-handed batters, and most of the Royals' power is from the right side, right? Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, Michael Garcia, who's third on the team in home runs this year, is a right-handed bat. Most of the power, most any team's power is from the right side. But the Royals have hit the right-handed batters only have hit 63 balls 325 feet in the air or further at Kauffman Stadium this year. 7 of them have been home runs. Royals opponents have hit 77 batted balls of that same distance. All their right-handed batters have hit 77 balls of that same distance, 14 more. They have 13 more home runs. And the reason for that is those batted balls for Royals opponents are going down the left field line off a right-handed bat. That's the pull side. And where is it a shorter porch at Kauffman Stadium? The corner. They are fractionally ahead of pitches that they are hitting with authority and able to hit those balls out of the ballpark. It's milliseconds in that regard. So I don't know if you call that dumb luck. Maybe you call it timing, placement, whatever you want to say. But the Royals have not had the same results on their long fly balls at Kauffman Stadium because they're not catching them far enough out front by millimeters. So that's part of it, which leads to the fact that among major league hitters, the league lead for home runs at Kauffman Stadium this year is 3, and that is shared by, among others, Colorado Rockies outfielder Jordan Beck, who did that in one day. Remember, he had 3 home runs in that doubleheader? And he has as many home runs as anybody else at Kauffman Stadium this year, including the Royals, who have played 38 home games. So, obviously, that's not what you want. Here's the part of it that is a little bit luck. Baseball Savant, we reference Baseball Savant a lot here. They have a stat, expected home runs. Basically, if you hit a ball, they measure the distance and they measure the launch angle, and they're able to determine, would this ball have been a home run at all 30 major league ballparks? And that enables them to come out with the expected home run statistics. So you have your actual total of home runs, and then you have how many home runs you'd be expected to hit based upon how many home run caliber balls you are putting into play. The Royals have lost over 10 home runs this season, according to expected home runs. Salvador Perez, in particular, has lost close to 3 home runs. He has hit 20 balls this year that would be a home run in at least one ballpark in the major leagues. Now, some of those are lazy fly balls down the left field line that would have been home runs in only Houston. But still, 20 home run caliber batted ball events for Salvador Perez this year. He only has 6 home runs. So he's lost by expected home runs almost 3 home runs. And the Royals as a team have lost 10. The Pirates are 29th in Major League Baseball. They have just 4 more home runs than the Royals do. They've only lost 5 expected home runs this year. Less than half the Royals number. The Dodgers, who have hit 112 home runs this year to lead all of baseball, they have 15 more home runs, according to the expected home run stat, than they would have expected to hit based upon their average batted ball data on home run caliber batted balls. So The Royals are losing. They're leaking home runs is what they're doing a little bit. And that's not something that you can necessarily control. You might hit a ball that would be a home run in Houston, but it's an out at Kauffman Stadium. There are a lot of batted balls, in fact, that would be home runs at a lot of other ballparks that are outs at Kauffman Stadium. So if it feels like the Royals have been hard done by their environment, have had a lot of warning track outs, have had a lot of balls that it felt like it just kind of died at the warning track, the ball is a factor. The park is a factor. Timing is a factor. It's never just one thing, right? But what we don't have in all of this data and all of this, like, these are valid explanations for why the Royals have had this season-long issue with power. What we don't have is a real satisfying solution here, because you look at their lineup. Do you expect more power than you're getting from Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez? Yeah, sure you do. But do you expect more from anybody else on the roster right now? Like, Vinny's on pace for a career high. That's great. Kyle Isbell's on pace for what he did last year. Do you really think Maikel Garcia is a 30 home run guy that should all of a sudden start popping more over the fence? Or Jonathan India, who only had one good power year, and that was in the aforementioned 2019 Powerball season? No. So there's not really a satisfying answer to this. Where they've lost all these home runs. This is part of the reason why. Where do they get them back? How do they start hitting the ball over the fence more? And short of play better, Salvador Perez getting the Wayback Machine, Jack Caglione start catching him out in front and hitting him in the air instead of on the ground, I don't have a satisfactory answer. And this just does feel like something that maybe it's not going to lag as badly as it has so far all season, but it kind of feels like it's just going to lag because of the way this roster is built.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know where this is all supposed to come from, because they just don't have the pieces for it. It's an unfortunate grouping here, because you don't have a lot of guys who are just like elite contact guys, which might be the way to go. Like, okay, well, we're not going to hit home runs. Maybe we just need to have maybe our approach needs to be, we're just getting on base all the time. We're going to manufacture runs that way.
And that was the 2014 team, right?
Yeah.
They kept the line moving. I'm going to look up what they hit with runners in scoring position. Go ahead. Continue, please.
You don't have those guys. Like, okay, if that's what you're going to do, and we're going to have Bobby Witt, Salvador Perez, maybe Vinny Pasquantino, those are going to be the guy who drive in the runs, and the other 6 guys are going to be singles and maybe doubles hitters. And that's what we're going to do. That would be great. You don't have anybody who's good at that, though. You don't have any guys who are just elite singles and doubles hitters right now. Like, if you took a team full of, I don't know, give me your favorite contact hitter right now. Nico Horner's having a great year.
Luis Arraez is the great example.
Yeah,
right?
Luis Arraez. Like, you had a bunch of those dudes. Okay, at least you're getting on base. You're making things happen. They don't have those guys either. They have a number of guys who, if they hit a home run, great, but that's all you're going to get out of them. And you're not able to really find a backup option for scoring your runs, or, okay, well, this doesn't work, so we can go with this instead to make up for it in the aggregate, if you will. You don't have that with this team. You're a day late and a dollar short with who you have with the bat.
The 2014 Royals, who again hit 95 home runs during the regular season, but won 89 games in the American League pennant. As a team that year, they had a 690 OPS. They had 263, 314 on base, 376 slug. With runners in scoring position, they had an OPS that was 42 points higher. They batted 271 with runners in scoring position that year. Their on-base percentage was 18 points higher. Their slugging percentage was 23 points higher with runners in scoring position. That's how you thrive when you're not hitting a lot of home runs. You're cashing in all of those 3 single innings. You're not having a 2 single inning. You're having a 3 single inning, or maybe a 2 single and a double inning, and you're cashing in those opportunities that you get. The 2025 Royals, and I don't need to tell you this, but here are the numbers that prove what you are seeing, that you do not have lying eyes. They are dramatically worse with runners in scoring position this year. So far this year, the Royals are batting .250, a .302 on base, a .366 slug for a .668 OPS. That number is 73 points worse with runners in scoring position. They are batting just .224. Their on-base percentage is 21 points worse, and their slugging percentage is 52 points worse when runners are in scoring position. That's the kind of thing that maybe evens out over the course of 6 months. Of course, sometimes it doesn't, and you're the 2014 Royals. Sometimes it doesn't, and it's the other direction, and you're so far the 2025 Royals. But one way you can clean up some of those runners on the base is if you can pop the ball over the fence a time or two. Royals haven't been able to do that. A lot of reasons why. Don't know which of them are fixable, really, at least by anything the team itself can do. We're going to take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. Come back. Royals take on the Rangers this week. It's a bit of an interesting series. It's the two teams that are a mirror of each other in a way. We'll talk about it next on 580 Sports Talk. Text from the 785. You can text 580 Sports Talk. 785-272-9429 is the number. Text from 785. Let's face it, Royals at best are a 500 team. They're 4 back of that right now. The team they're playing, starting a 3-game series against tonight in Arlington, is a 500 team. The Texas Rangers are the opponent. And they are a bit of a mirror image of the Royals in a lot of ways. Do they have a slumping star shortstop? Yes, they do. Corey Seager has been in a mighty funk since he came off the injured list. Still with a 720 OPS on the year. That's well behind where Bobby Witt Jr. has been. But Corey Seager still a 2-time World Series MVP, one of the best shortstops in the game, and somebody who right now is struggling. Do they have veterans who look like are maybe taking a beating from Father Time, like Salvador Perez might be? Yeah, the Rangers have that. Marcus Semien is off to one of the worst starts of his career. Jock Peterson is hitting 131 with a 507 OPS. Jock's not that old. He's only 33, but he's been in the game a long time, and maybe time starting to catch up with him a little bit. Do they have a prospect, a well-regarded prospect, who is trying to deliver on some of that promise? Yeah, they do. That Wyatt Langford's been their best hitter this year, 755 OPS for the former number 2 overall pick in the draft. Obviously, the Royals equivalent would be Jack Caglione, who has not been the Royals' best hitter and just got to the major leagues. Do they have a pitching staff keeping it all afloat, despite the fact that they cannot score runs? Yes. That is why the Rangers are 500. They have the best ERA in the American League. They have 5 outstanding starting pitchers, though one of them, Tyler Mahle, is hurt. That is what is keeping them afloat. So What I am saying is that the Royals and the Rangers have just about everything in common, except the Rangers have found their way to 500, while the Royals are 4 games underwater going into this week's series. And it should be an interesting one. The Rangers haven't announced what they're going to do with their starting rotation. Doesn't look like they're going to throw Jacob deGrom this week, so the Royals will at least duck him. But
did get no hit.
I would not expect a lot of offense in this series because the Rangers have a batting average as a team that is 21 points lower than the Royals. Their team on base percentage is 8 points lower. You watch the Royals and think, man, they make a lot of outs. The Rangers make more outs.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It's going to be a series, it feels like, where offense is hard to come by. Of course, you watch me say that, and it'll be a 10-8 game tonight. It's usually how it works.
That's how it goes.
That's baseball for you. We'll take a break, come back with a little Random Question Tuesday on 580 Sports Talk. .344 580 Sports Talk. It's Random Question Tuesday. We invite your participation either in the YouTube chat on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk, or on the text line, 785-272-9429. Got a non-sports one, maybe a sports one if you're coming back around to it. Today is the 31st anniversary of the OJ chase. June 17th, 1994. 31 years ago today.
Go Broncos.
Yes, the slow white Bronco. Lots of Ed McCaffrey jokes.
They don't sell the new models in white.
No, they don't.
I don't know if you knew that, but they brought the Bronco back a year or two ago. They don't sell those in white.
Sure don't. Man, they had to do a whole image rehab for the Ford Bronco. Did a little short movie with Walton Goggins and everything.
They speaking of guys named Al.
Yeah. You know who this is? What a cast of characters. Anyhow, inspired by that question, I was would have been 7 years old going on 8, but it's not my answer to the question. But what is the first major news event that you can remember in your life? What was the first major world or national news event you were really aware of?
I mean, the one for sure is 9/11. I was 7. I just turned 7 years old. I remember. And the thing is, I remember it clearly. That's the one that I remember. I remember where I was in my first grade classroom. I remember Miss Just turned off all the lights. I remember there was a girl crying. She pulled out the mat. We didn't have even a big computer projector at the time. We just had a old paper map, and it was probably Canvas, and she pointed like, here's New York, here's what's happening. And I remember that super, super clearly. I kind of remember Y2K. Like
Sure.
Because I would have been, I turned 6 in September of 2000. So I was like 5, 6 years old. I sort of remember Y2K. And like, people are freaking out about this. They talk about it on TV all the time. What's that? But I think that's the one I remember.
So I have a vague memory of the Persian Gulf War, 1990, 91. Like I was 4 or 5 years old. Like I have a vague memory of like war, bad bombs overseas.
What is it good for? Yeah.
Whitney Houston's national anthem at the Super Bowl that year. Like I kind of understood, like had a very rudimentary understanding of what was going on there. The first one though that I really like remember and like being like affected by was the Oklahoma City bombing in 1994.
Oh, sure.
I remember seeing it on the news. Like my mom remembers this story, tells the story that I had the news on. And I said, Mom, something bad happened. Like, sure did, son. Sure did. Anyway,
correct.
That is my story. What do you got for we'll get to your question. I have Ryan in the YouTube comment says the Challenger space shuttle explosion.
Sure.
And Mark H says it was Reagan's the assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Vance goes further back. Nixon's resignation speech, Watergate scandal being the first news.
Okay.
So yeah, we're multi-generational.
Yeah.
In so many ways on 580 Sports Talk.
All right, mine is tangentially sports related. So in 1990, for the 14-2 San Francisco 49ers, future Hall of Famer Charles Haley played all 16 games, recorded 16 sacks. He was a first-team All-Pro, a Pro Bowler, and finished 3rd in Defensive Player of the Year voting. How many people between you and your friends would it take to subdue peak 1990 Charles Haley?
Charles Haley was a crazy person.
Freak. Brain of an alien.
There are stories about him. Jeff Pearlman's excellent book about the 1990s Dallas Cowboys. I think it was called One of the Boys or something like that.
Yeah.
It really, Boys Will Be Boys. That's what it's called. Boys Will Be Boys. Jeff Pearlman's book about the 1990s Dallas Cowboys. There are stories of Charles Haley doing some really out of pocket stuff. Like this was a person, A, who was nuts, and B, who you could not tell anything.
Yes.
So the answer to that question is I would need at least 7, 8 other people.
See, I was thinking 5. I think with 5 we could get him down. Now, I'm probably the most athletic of my friends these days, which is oof. I think if we had one person to occupy each limb and then someone to like jump on and try to put on a rear naked choke from behind, we could eventually get him down. I think 5. Might have to do some like dirty chop blocks down low to try to get him onto the ground, but
sure.
I'm not saying you have to fight clean. I think we can do 5.
Okay.
Now
Godspeed.
Question might change if we say he snorts cocaine beforehand. That might change the equation. I might need to go to 7 or 8 at that point.
He had some great years in the 80s and 90s. There was a lot going on.
He was not alone in that locker room.
A lot going on in that Cowboy locker room in the 90s. My sports question today. Who is your favorite player ever from a team you hate?
I'm assuming this can't be someone who would later join your favorite team.
No, this would be a player who is, never played for your favorite team. That's disqualifying. And also is associated primarily with this team.
Okay. This will take me a minute to think about this.
Favorite player ever on a team you hate?
It's tough because I have a lot of respect for Randy Moss, but to be completely honest with you, when I was a kid, I hated Randy. I wished very bad things upon Randy Moss when I was a kid. I had a lot of respect for him though. Primarily for, you know what? This is one that played for actually 2 of my least favorite teams. I was always a big Jared Allen fan. Chiefs fans,
Chiefs great.
Remember him as a Chief. He was great, and he might have been an all-pro in Minnesota. He had a couple good years with the Bears. I recently remembered from the Football Immaculate Grid he played in Carolina. Forgot that.
That might have been his last year, yeah.
But yes, no, I remember him as a Viking, as a Bear, and he was great. And I loved his game. I loved the sack celebration. he just happened to play for two teams I hate.
The calf roping.
Yeah, I think I'd go Jared Allen.
Favorite player on a team that I hate, somebody who I've always admired as a player and really enjoyed watching over the course of his career, being a former left-handed pitcher myself, Clayton Kershaw of the Dodgers. I can't stand the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I hate them. But Kershaw's greatness has always been kind of undeniable, and I love to watch him work to the point where, like, I tend to check out on games where, like, if I'm watching my own favorite team and they're not playing well, like, I'd turn the game off. I stayed up till like 1 a.m. to watch Kershaw no-hit the Rockies back in, would have been 14, I think. I think it was 2014. And he had like 14 strikes. It's one of the greatest games ever pitched, if you ask me. He was just magisterial that night at Dodger Stadium. And as a player, he's absolutely been one of my favorites for a long time. Just undeniably great at what he does.
Another one that, like, it's a rival, but I'm annoyed now by the Lions that they're good. When I was growing up, the Lions sucked. They were horrific. Until like 3 years ago, they were horrible all the time. Calvin Johnson's one of my favorite players ever. He was unbelievable during his prime, obviously. But I just looked it up. He played 16 games against the Packers in his career and won 4 of them. Like, I never felt hatred toward them.
Sure, no, that's part of it.
From 1991 until 2018, the Packers did not lose a single home game to the Lions. Jason Hansen played his entire career without losing or without winning at Lambeau, and he played like 20 seasons.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like, I never hated them because they sucked. They were never a threat.
They weren't worth hating at that
But
point.
I did love Calvin Johnson. He was so sick.
Yeah, some guys are just undeniable. It's like, man, that player is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a number of Bears, but even the Bears, I don't like the Bears, but there's like a respect there. Like, Peanut Tillman was awesome. I loved Peanut Tillman. Devin Hester was one of them. But I don't feel the same kind of hatred for the Bears I feel for the Vikings. I really downright hate them.
I don't really have a football answer to that question. Like if you pressed me, I'd maybe give you Larry Fitzgerald, but I never hated the Arizona Cardinals.
I don't think anyone does.
No, they're not worth hating. No.
That's worse than when people bring out this team does not have fans insult. No one hates you is a far worse insult.
No, for
you
real.
Don't register to anyone.
A couple of answers from the text line. First from 785, Bo Jackson when he played for the Raiders. That's obviously an interesting relationship.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
were
That's
a
a good
Royals
one.
fan at the time. Another one from 785, Marcus Allen. Great running back. I hated the Raiders and loved it when he came to Kansas City. Paul in the YouTube comment says, prime Justin Verlander was maddening, but must-see TV against the Royals. Yeah, I could see that one. I could see.
That's one of my most irrational player hatred picks. He's like a first ballot, no doubt, should be unanimous Hall of Famer. I hate Justin Verlander. Always have.
Mark H. throws out Charles Oakley of the New York Knicks. See, I loved Oak. I was on the opposite side of that Knicks Bulls thing in the 90s just because I wanted somebody else who wasn't Michael Jordan to win. And I've told the story. I got to meet Oak once when he was down in Wichita, and his hand was as big as my forearm. Good guy, Oak. Anyway, good answers from the listeners. Appreciate you participating on Random Question Tuesday. We'll take a timeout, come back, and wrap up this 3 o'clock hour 580 Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk, Tuesday afternoon. We got 2 more hours plus some overtime before we pass the baton to the Royals Baseball Network at 6:30. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, who are the most interesting Big 12 football teams for 2025? Not good. No, we're not ranking them by how good we think they are going to be. We'll save that for media days and then the preseason media poll. Who's interesting in the Big 12? I think for a variety of reasons, you could put just about anybody on the list, but I want to know how you define interesting and who you think are the most intriguing Big 12 teams going into 2025. We'll break that down in the next hour. We'll also talk to Michael Swain of Jayhawk Weekly and get his thoughts on the latest developments in both football and basketball recruiting for the Jayhawks. A lot going on both fronts, and we'll get Michael's thoughts for Jayhawk Weekly at the bottom of the hour. Plus, we'll have another round of What Is Wrong With You. It's all coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Stay with us here on 580 WIBW. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And, of course, on our video stream, our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, our Facebook page, WIBW News. Whether you're listening, watching, live or on tape or on our podcast at 580WIBW.com or on Spotify, however you're consuming the show, whenever you're consuming the show, thanks for doing it. Thanks for being a part of the 580 Sports Talk universe. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis, gang's all here. We are with you again until 6:30 tonight. We will hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network. Royals trying to snap a 6-game losing streak as they begin a 6-game road trip tonight in Arlington against the Texas Rangers. 7:05 first pitch. So we'll have a little 580 Sports Talk overtime before we get to pregame coverage at 6:30 tonight on the Royals Baseball Network. We'll have some more Royals to get to later on in the program today. Also some Chiefs talk on the show as opening of mandatory minicamp. And the Chiefs, by and large, had a team full of guys who took the word mandatory, quite seriously. Good attendance at mandatory minicamp. That's Trey Smith. Some questions about whether he'd be there. He was. Chris Jones kind of jokingly saying, "I'm glad he didn't listen to me because I told him not to come."
That was funny.
Yeah, I told him to skip while he's holding out hope, I guess, for a new contract. But
he's not represented by the Katz brothers, is he?
No, I don't believe he is.
Lucky him.
Yeah.
Do you know who's rumored to not be there? Because somebody went on a show yesterday and said that this person was going to be with their significant other at the Stanley Cup Finals.
I'm going to guess it's Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Hey, he did go to Game 4?
Yeah, but the NHL reporter, the ringside reporter, went on Pat McAfee's show and was like, "I have it on good sources. Travis and Taylor will be there tomorrow night."
They're just trying to get people watched.
Yeah.
Nobody's watching the Stanley Cup Finals, at least not in the United States.
He definitely has mandatory minicamp.
I think it's very funny that it turns out for all the people in this country and really this continent that watch the NFL, so few people actually understand how it works. Remember last year, she had was she on tour or she had some event and it was like, he's skipping the tour because he has practice. Yeah. That's how it works.
Kind of his job. You could just skip your practice for your girlfriend's concert?
Relationship on the rocks?
Yeah, believe it or not, you do have to practice to play football.
That was more of a Swifty thing.
Probably.
That was more of a U.S. Weekly thing than a...
I believe it's Us Weekly.
Is it?
I believe.
Yeah, I got it confused with U.S. News and World Report because I would certainly never read a gossip rag, a tabloid gossip rag in my hands. Me?
You don't watch ESPN? Oh, zinger!
Us Weekly,
Us
Weekly, and Get Up. The First Take, it's like the same stuff.
I hate Mike Greenberg.
Maybe that's hard on Get Up, but like First Take for sure.
I don't think it is. They did a whole segment the other day about Dak Prescott's legacy. Dak Prescott. I almost brought this up to Matt Verderam if we had more time yesterday. Because he posted about it on X, the Everything app. It's all happening on X. He shared the clip and said, "Why are we talking about this? Dak Prescott's a fine quarterback. He's never won anything. He's Jim Hart. Are we going to talk about Jim Hart's legacy? No." Insane. Genuinely insane.
What is Dak Prescott's legacy? Why? That's not even like fun to think about. Like I'm bored saying the sentence, "What is Dak Prescott's legacy?" That bored me.
He's boring. The only person interested in that is the most devout Tony Romo fan you know, because they'll say he ended Tony's career. That's it. That's the only person interested in having that conversation. His legacy.
What?
He puts up a lot of stats in the months of September through December.
Doing legacy talk for somebody who's never made a conference championship game.
You could have more legacy talk about Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, you actually could.
Yeah, at this point.
Daniels won Heisman, too.
Sure did.
Isn't it funny how the people who
And also
determine a legacy are always the ones talking about
Also
a legacy?
didn't get his face caved in at Beach Week.
Yeah.
That's another thing that happened to Dak Prescott. But
I've never been
that's
a
out
Sleep
there.
Number ad.
Hashtag World Star. We're not going to talk about that. We are not.
No, we actually like sports on this program.
We're not beholden to ratings or whatever Norby Williamson thinks. So we are not going to wedge the Dallas Cowboys into a Tuesday in June.
One quick thought, though. How does that organization continually end up with dudes with weird first names? Burke, Magnus, Norby Williamson?
I thought you were talking about the Cowboys.
No,
I was like, well, okay, yeah. I'm like, I'm tracking you. Okay, Dak is weird.
Well, it's short for Dakota. Well, his real first name is Rain
Then it was
with
like,
a Y.
who else are you talking? Like CD's a nickname. Golden Richards? You going that far back? Like, that's a weird name. Not a lot of Goldens out there.
A lot of dudes named Jalen. A lot of Travises. No. ESPN.
Anywho, we'll talk a little Chiefs later on, continuing our countdown to Chiefs kickoff. 80 days, by the way, until the Chiefs kick things off. We'll do a preview of tonight's Royals-Rangers game as well. Got our sports headlines. That's all coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. Michael Swain's going to join us at the bottom of this hour for Jayhawk Weekly. Busy weekend for KU on the recruiting front, both football and basketball. KU football added a defensive line recruit from the state of Oklahoma and lost a defensive line recruit from the state of Oklahoma. We'll get Michael's perspective on that. Also, the continuing search for two more dudes, basically, to play basketball for Bill Self's KU program.
I believe someone's in town today.
2025-26. There are some reports and some rumors, and we will allow Michael to address those when we have him on, as the search for a backup big man. And at this point, I'm not sure the pickings aren't so slim that just a wing with a pulse will do.
Yeah.
It's no longer like we need a scoring wing or we need a 3-and-D. Like, nah, man, we need somebody who's 6'5" and can walk and chew gum.
Yeah, like on the bright side, like the starting lineup's done. It is what it is. Like the way that the portal and international recruiting and reclasses and all that, the way it has worked out, the silver lining is your starting five is set right now. You're Darren Peterson, Flory Badunga, Melvin Council, Jaden Dawson, Trey White. That's starting five. So it's kind of nice to just know that is set, but you have to have depth. You need a guy on the bench who can score. You need a guy on the bench who can give you 5 fouls at this point. So
yeah,
I'm hoping for some good news from Mike.
They do.
Today.
They need 5 fouls. How do you say 5 fouls in Turkish? No particular reason why I'm asking.
Omer Ashik.
Great answer.
The Turkish hammer.
That's coming up. Michael Swain, Jayhawk Weekly, bottom of the hour. What is wrong with you coming up later this hour as well. But I want to talk some Big 12 football today.
Hell yeah.
We're about 9 weeks out of kickoff, I believe, of week 0. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, maybe
9 till week 0.
Yeah, 9 weeks.
9.5. Yeah.
9.5. We'll go with that. So we're getting close. We're a few weeks out of Big 12 Media Days back in Texas at the Star in Frisco. And as we get closer to kickoff, we'll power rank the teams. We'll tier the teams. We'll tier the coach. We'll do all that fun stuff. But I want to know, as it stands in the middle of the month of June, who are the most interesting Big 12 teams to you? Because I think teams can be interesting or intriguing for a lot of different reasons. And I was curious to get your temperature, you guys, Brendan and Spencer, on this. And I'm going to give you my list of the top 5, I think, most interesting Big 12 teams for 2025. Want to hear from you as well on the text line, 785-272-9429. Also, if you're following along on a YouTube channel, the channel is 580 Sports Talk. You can jump on in with us in the discussion there in the live chat. Again, the channel 580 Sports Talk. But I'm going to give you my 5 to start. I'm going to rank them 5 to number 1, the most interesting teams in the Big 12 for 2025. And number 5, and I think everybody ought to have them in their top 5. Everybody, if they're honest with themselves, should have them on their list. Number 5 for me is Colorado. Because what is it without Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter? What is the Deion Sanders experience as a coach without his kids? Deion or Shedeur, Shiloh, and Travis. What is What does the experiment look like when it is not his son at quarterback, when he does not have the Heisman Trophy winner on both sides of the football? Like, there's still some substantial, like, star rating power, at least, when it comes to recruiting and how they've handled the portal, and they should be really good in the secondary. They've got an interesting quarterback battle between Caden Salter, who was good at least 2 years ago at Liberty, and Julian Lewis, who's a 5-star freshman. But they're not his kids. They're not a Heisman Trophy winner on this roster to wallpaper over all of the, like, scheme and in-game stuff that CU got so wrong 2 years ago in Coach Prime's first year when they were essentially a laughing stock. I went 3-9 or whatever it was. Last year they won 9 games. Last year they had a Heisman winner, and they had a quarterback who got drafted. What does it look like? What does it look like? And the question, what does it look like if it goes bad? Because that continues to be the biggest question that I always have about the Coach Prime experience. Because part of the Coach Prime brand is it works. I win. I'm a success. I've always been a success. I've never been anything but a success. What happens if you're not?
So to that point, here's my question for you about Colorado. What is the percentage chance that Pat Shurmur coaches every game this year?
As the offensive coordinator?
Because the entire reason that Pat Shurmur was hired, which is still a bad idea, but the whole reason he was hired was, oh, this dude coached in the NFL. He'll help Shedeur get to the NFL and be prepared for the NFL. You don't talk about your all-time backfires. Ended up a 5th-round pick and maybe 4th on their depth chart. Like, if it at any point goes south, like if they lose 3 in a row, I haven't looked at their schedule. They lose 3 in a row. Does Pat Shurmur survive?
Probably not.
Because I don't think he's a Dion guy. You want to talk about a mercenary coach, Pat Shurmur.
Dion's thing is he hires his buddies. Warren Sapp is on staff. Marshall Faulk is on staff. Dion hires his buddies.
Literally his coworker at NFL Network.
Yes.
2 coworkers at NFL Network.
By the way, go look up why neither of those guys works in NFL Network anymore. Particularly Marshall Faulk. Go look that up if you don't know the backstory behind all of that. Anyway, yeah, what does it look like if it goes south? Because I think there's a pretty good chance it goes south. Because the Dion brand is everybody's watching. The Dion brand is all eyes on me. And the Dion brand is success. None of that works if you're 6-6. None of that works if you're 6-6.
I agree.
Number 4 on my list of the most interesting teams in the Big 12 entering 2025 is Kansas State, because I think they might be the most talented roster in the Big 12. And I am starting to believe that they should be the favorite to win the league. And the question is twofold for them, whether they deliver on that promise. The answer will come from 2 directions. Number 1, what does it look like for Avery Johnson? If he's merely good, we know what that looks like. K-State win 9 or 10 games. What if he's great? Can he get to great? His prospect pedigree suggests that he can. And number 2, how does it congeal around him with the skill players, with Matt Wells in his second year as a coordinator? So you have that consistency coming back, and you have another year under the tutelage of a guy who's got a good track record developing quarterbacks. The offense is what's going to take this team places. I think defensively they'll be fine, but offensively, they hit the gas, they get to another level. If Avery gets to another level, I think that team wins the Big 12.
Spencer, don't tell me where they rank, but is K-State on your list?
Yes.
Okay. I left K-State off. I think K-State can sleepwalk blindfolded to 9 wins this season. Like, to me, over the course of the last 6 hours of this workday, I no longer have questions. K-State should be the undoubted favorite to win the conference this year.
Okay.
And if you want to buy in on Texas Tech, you're welcome to. I think we're going to talk about Texas Tech a lot in the next 10 minutes. That's fine, because they've paid for an NFL roster. I get it. I think right now I'm looking at the schedule for K-State. Iowa State at a neutral site, week 0. That is very iffy. KU in Lawrence. The gap between those two closes year over year. They get Texas Tech at home. It might be 10 wins baked into the schedule. I left them off because I think they're going to win the conference, and I don't have a ton of doubt right now about that. Obviously, things can change over the course of the year. There's injuries, etc. I think the most interesting player in the conference is Avery Johnson. I think as a team, I think K-State is going to win at least 9 games this year without blinking. That the intrigue for me is, are they going to make it to the playoff? And if they win the conference, yes, without question. I think they're without question going to play in a really good bowl game one way or the other. That's why I left them off, because I almost think they like are overqualified for this.
Sure. No, I understand that perspective. Number 3 for me is Arizona State, because what does it look like with expectations? Because there were no expectations last year, and they did what they did.
Yeah.
Win the conference. Also, no Cam Scadaboo, which I know is disappointing, but wait till you guys get a load, if you did not watch a lot of Army Black Knight football last year, of their new version of Cam Scadaboo, a gentleman named Kanye Udo, who
he's so sick.
Yeah, man, he's really good.
Awesome player.
Yeah, and runs low to the ground like a bowling ball. I don't know that he's the complete package, like catching the ball out of the backfield that Scadaboo proved to be, but Udo's running styles could be very similar. Yeah,
awesome player.
They're going to plug him right in. Number 2 for me, Utah. Everybody assumed they were going to come into the league and be the bully on the block, and that didn't happen. They face planted. They never got it right at quarterback, and they face planted last year. And a lot of people thought Kyle Whittingham was going to be out the door. He hung around. He brought in a new offensive coordinator. He brought in a new quarterback, Devin Dampier, out of New Mexico. Get a load of him. It's going to be worth watching. Do I know if it's going to be good? The highs will be very high and the lows will be very low. But there's a potential for a lot of highs with an athlete and a player like Devin Dampier. Defensively, they're going to be Utah, because they're always Utah on the defensive side. Can they get it right on offense? And if they do, they should be back at the top of the league, but they're licking their wounds a little bit. And then number 1 for me is Texas Tech, because they went and tried to buy themselves a conference championship and brought in a really impressive portal class. Romello Height out of Georgia Tech, Lee Carter out of UCF, who's a 2-time All Big 12 guy. The receiver that Hudson, who was committed and then left and then he came back. They have rolled out the red carpet. Did you see the report that Texas Tech has spent $55 million on athletes across their programs, all of their athletic programs, last year, 2024-25? They spent $55 million on guys.
Pretty nice to have Cody Campbell just willing to, he apparently is not interested in anything other than Texas Tech sports.
No. Yeah.
And honestly, good for him and good for them.
Yeah.
Well,
that's pretty nice.
Did you see all the new transfers that have just committed to Texas Tech softball after their run?
Yes. They've got that kind of money for softball. What kind of money do you think they have for football?
Crazy.
Right. So that is the experiment. And look, Colorado tried to build a team out of the portal. It didn't really work. It worked a year after that because they had the Heisman winner. And they had a pretty good quarterback.
And year 2 of a system.
And it was year 2. And so it worked out eventually. But year 1 didn't work. Did not work. Is it going to work at Texas Tech without a Heisman winner on the roster? That to me, they are the most fascinating team. What is your list? 5 through 1. Who are the most interesting teams in the Big 12?
So we have 4 of the 5 same teams, and every team from the same state. You can probably guess what I mean by that in a slightly different order. I've got Utah 5. The other element, I agree with everything you said. Devin Dampier was really fun at New Mexico this past year. I think he's got a really high ceiling, really high. I think he also has a really low floor, and he's a different kind of risk taker than Cam Rising was. And not that Rising played last year anyway. Here's the other element to this, though. There were a lot of rumors on this show included from Paul Meyerberg, who is amazing at what he does. Said, hey, I don't know that Kyle Whittingham is going to be back next year. That has not been the case before. There's been the who will be the heir apparent, but never the, I actually think he's leaving narrative. That is now lingering around too. And if they struggle out the gate, it's only going to get stronger. So I've got Utah on my list. I have them 5th. I put Colorado 4th. All the reasons that you laid out, Dan. Is Caden Salter going to win that job? I kind of think he will, but they also got Juju Lewis, to commit to Colorado for a reason, and that was to play. That is an interesting battle, I think. What does it look like without Shedeur? What does it look like with the Heisman winner? What does it look like for Deion Sanders when he's not coaching his kid? There's Shedeur with the Browns. What does he look like with a team that wasn't built just for him? What does it look like for Deion with a quarterback who's not his own kid, who he made dinner for the night before? That's different. And I think that's worth considering.
Imagining Deion cooking dinner.
It'd be really funny if he was a Michelin star quality chef on the side.
Mean with it on the grill, right?
Or he's making manwich every night. It's one or the other for Deion. You know that. So I've got Colorado 4th. I do think they're fascinating. I put KU 3rd here. The argument, I think, for KU being the most interesting, 1, new defensive coordinator. Lance Leipold has not had a different defensive coordinator since, I believe, early in his time at Wisconsin Whitewater. Brian Borland had been with him through everything. Now Borland's retired. They promoted DK McDonald. former NFL guy, had a lot of success at Iowa State, had worked really well, obviously, with Kobe and Mello and the safeties in the defensive backfield last year. What's he going to be as a coordinator? Offensively, new coordinator. Now, Jim Zabrowski and Matt Lubick have both been around. They know KU. They know Jalen Daniels. They know Lance Leipold. But this is 3 years in a row with 3 different play callers for the KU offense. And the other thing that's fascinating about this, a generation, essentially, of KU football on offense graduated. Change in the offensive line. Not everybody. Bryce Foster being back is massive, but you lose Logan Brown. You lose Bryce Cabledew, guys who started for you for multiple years. One of the 10 best players in the history of the program, Devin Neal, is not coming back. He is in the NFL now. Luke Grimm, gone. Hugh Skinner, gone. LJ Arnold, gone. New starting tight end. Love Deshaun Hanukkah, Topeka guy. He's coming off an Achilles tear. There's obviously questions there. He has not played a game for KU yet. Major questions there. I think KU's the bowl team. I think like 7-5 is a good, reasonable goal.
I think they should be. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think there is like a 4-win floor if things do not click. If McDonald doesn't click with the defense, if the offense doesn't get going with old guy QB and a bunch of new faces offensively, other than Highshaw, I think there's like a 9-win ceiling for this team. I think if it does click, they could be really good. That's why I think they're very interesting. I put Arizona State 2. I like Sam Levitt. I don't know that I love Sam Levitt yet. I do love Kanye Udo. He is awesome. I love Kenny Dillingham. I also think they outperformed their talent level by quite a bit last season.
Yeah.
They have replaced a lot of those guys. I don't know that they've gotten better.
And that's a hard thing to keep doing. That was like the magic of like the Snyder era K-State teams that could do that over and over and over again. Like the later stage, the second part of Snyder's tenure.
And no disrespect, but I don't think Arizona State has earned that benefit of the doubt yet. I don't. They were awesome last year. I don't think they've earned that. They could be, but I'm not quite there. So they're number 2. Text number 1 for everything we've already talked about. Does it work spending more money than God to build a roster? That they should be the most interesting team in the country this year, to be frank with you.
You can make that argument.
And the strategy they've used to build that roster. So I've got Texas Tech 1, Arizona State 2, KU 3, Colorado 4, Utah 5.
Spencer, run us through your 5. If you've got anybody different, let us know why.
I've got West Virginia on here.
Okay.
No more Neil Brown. No more like pouty Neil Brown. Like, we're going to go 4-8, but it's okay because we're getting better.
Trust the climb.
We're having fun, right?
No, I mean, you got your guy back. You got Rich Rod back. The fan base is excited. The fan base is rejuvenated. Nico Marchiol, how can he take a step forward as your starter? Right? Okay. He played a bunch over the last 2 seasons in packages, but now he's your starter. And how much does the hard edge really bring from Rich Rod? I think it's interesting. The mentality, the culture, like culture builds programs, and maybe you fire out of a cannon this year and you get lucky.
Yeah. Can they pick up where they left off?
Yeah. I got Colorado. I think, how do they go post, you guys said post Shador, Travis Hunter era. And to me, I don't know how true this is, but I've seen stuff that Dion is sick.
He has not been in good health, reportedly.
Do they have an interim coach for this season? Is it Warren Sapp or somebody like, does he even coach this season at all? Like that's a question I'm thinking.
All accounts are that he will, but he has not been with the team recently.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's worth asking.
Avery Johnson at K-State. I think, right, year 2 as a starter with a very talented roster. How do they continue off what they did with him last year? I think that's my 3rd team. Then number 2, Arizona State. Where are they with Levitt in year 2 without Scattaboo? You got your new running back in, the high expectations. And then my other one's kind of a wild card one here because they had a great season last year after not having a great season the year prior, but their quarterback's in doubt. BYU, how do they follow up an 11-2 season last year with Retzlaff's season potentially in doubt with the allegations with the civil suit?
It's probably worth bringing up that going into last season, we all had major concerns about BYU.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we thought Sataki might end up on the hot seat. And I like Kalani Sataki a lot. I know we all do. And they were great.
Yeah.
Like Arizona State, they knew exactly who they were, and they played to that personality all season long. And if they do that again, they are no fun to play against. And they're never fun to play against at altitude at Lavelle Edwards Stadium, especially not at night. Ask Chris Kleiman, ask Avery Johnson. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll got Michael Swain coming up. We'll get his thoughts on that question. But we got What Is Wrong With You next here on 580 WIBW. What is wrong with you? On 580 Sports Talk, it is brought to you by State Farm Agent Ryan Mo Winkle, Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. When it comes to those often complicated worlds of insurance and financial services, Mo knows. So give him a call today, 785-273-1572. Current weekly champion, Cowboy Cody from Kentucky, who's packing a raccoon, set it loose in a bar that had banned him for life over what the story referred to as a drunken mule incident. Interesting man, Cowboy Cody. 2 new stories today. Brendan, you go first.
All right, for my story today, everybody celebrates Father's Day a little bit differently. I called my dad. I spent all day with my daughter. You flew, you traveled, but you spent the whole week with your son.
Called my dad as well, yeah.
Well, this guy shot his dad on Father's Day.
Oh, boy.
A 25-year-old man stands accused of trying to kill his father in Miami. Police officers reported arresting Adrian Garcia Sunday morning at Northwest 4th Street and 48th Street in the Flagami neighborhood. Garcia shot his dad late Saturday night. According to neighbors, at least 2 gunshots were heard in the home where Garcia lives with his parents. Channel 10 Miami's Terrell Forney was told that responding officers were met with people who were telling them conflicting information, but they eventually sorted out what they believe actually happened. Correctional deputies booked Garcia Father's Day morning at the Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center. He is facing a charge of attempted murder with a deadly weapon. A neighbor said the victim's wife has remained at his side at the hospital following the shooting. He is still alive. Otherwise, we wouldn't be including this story.
No.
So, yeah, no motive as of now. We might find that out later. But, yeah, happy Father's Day. I'm going to put a bullet in your head.
Not everybody has the same relationship with their parents that we're fortunate to have.
That's true.
That is a fact. My story today, I have titled 14,576,000. Why did I call the story that? That's 911 16,000 times, which is how often a 72-year-old Florida man has dialed the emergency number over the last 5 years. According to investigators who have arrested the recurring caller for allegedly stalking a neighbor. Police last week responded to a 911 call claiming that someone was shooting an AR-15 rifle in the roadway outside a St. Petersburg, Florida residence. When officers arrived at the home, they discovered a family barbecue with small children playing. With regard to the reported gunplay, numerous neighbors advised that such an event did not occur. The complainant was Samuel Lee Thomas, who lives across the street from where the shooting allegedly happened. Police communications reports showed that Thomas has dialed police 647 times this year to make complaints about the neighboring home, making allegations about drug sales, firearms usage, disorderly conduct, and suspicious activity. Concluding that it was readily apparent that Thomas was utilizing the police to maliciously harass the family across the street for no legitimate purpose, cops busted Thomas for stalking and false report of a crime. He was also charged with resisting arrest for allegedly tussling with officers when they tried to handcuff him.
Tussling.
Thomas's telephonic proclivities extended beyond Peterson's household. According to a criminal complaint, he has made approximately 3,400 calls to police this year and 16,000 within the last 5 years. The complaint does not detail the nature or target of those calls, but indicates that with regard to Thomas, there is no indication of mental health issues or drug or alcohol influence. In a brief phone conversation today with the smoking gun, Thomas said, "I don't know anything about stalking," adding that his calls to police were about neighborhood nuisances.
He's that guy.
By the way, 14,576,000. Is that your number? That's roughly how much Josh Simmons is going to get paid this year by the Chiefs. Or the total value of his contract, excuse me.
That's so many 911 calls.
That is a lot of 911
Like, it's
calls.
one thing to be the get off my lawn old man, but like, you don't have to call the cops 16,000 times about it.
Vance questions on YouTube. I wonder if he's married to the lady who made all those hotel reservations.
Very possible.
God, I love that story.
Very possible. Who wins today?
I'm gonna go with the guy who shot his dad on Father's Day.
Yeah.
Does that beat Cowboy Cody?
No, I don't think so.
Cowboy Cody continues on. What is wrong with you? Sponsored by State Farm Agent Ryan Mo Winkle. Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain is next. Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. We're joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Michael's coverage of the Jayhawks is always top-notch, and if you're a VIP subscriber to the 24/7 Sports Network, you can get all of his inside info on the Hawks. He joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, I want to start with this. We were discussing this at the top of the 4 o'clock hour today. There'll be time enough to decide who we think are the best teams in Big 12 football going into 2025, but who's the team from a storyline perspective outside of the Jayhawks that you're most interested or intrigued by in Big 12 football going into 2025?
Yeah, I honestly think Arizona State's a really interesting team. Obviously, they did such a great job last year. Bus Cataboo was incredible on their way to the college football playoff. And I find Kenny Dillingham is a very fascinating head coach because he is modern. And I mean that in a few different ways, right? You can look at the actual in-game coaching style. He is aggressive. He takes risks. Last year, I think a lot of those risks that he took, I think the ball came out on Arizona State's side. I also love the way that he commands his team, and you watch the press conferences and stuff. And I think he's a very fascinating head coach. And I think that he's one that, we could look a few years down the road. And if a major college football program is looking for a head coach, I think he could be one. So I think Arizona State in the Big 12, it's been very consistent really since, Oklahoma started to fall off, that teams really struggle to have back-to-back consistently really good years. And so Arizona State returns plenty from last year. Not everyone, but they return plenty. And they've done a decent job recruiting in the portal. And so I think they're a team for me that is super interesting. And so when, we talk about the preseason media poll coming out in about a week or two, I'm really, Arizona State's got to be near the top. But I think they're the type of team that I'm just so interested to see how it goes this year. And if that same kind of gung-ho style that Dillingham has, can it repeat itself at the same high level, or is there a drop-off? How big of a drop-off is there? I think Arizona State's such a fascinating program going into this year.
What's the KU football storyline that you find to be really intriguing, but you think is kind of under the radar from a national perspective?
Well, I think a part of it is obviously I think there'll be lots of like Jalen Daniels coming back and all that, but I think this is really the first time that Lance Leipold and this coaching staff has gone out and picked its players, right? You look at last year's team, how many of those guys were Les Miles recruits, right? A lot of them. Yeah. A lot of them came under Les Miles, and a lot of them were in their 6 years of COVID eligibility. And so I think that's such a fascinating part about this year's team is the fact that this is really the first time that we've seen a team of Leipold's get built around players that they are picking. Because in years past, it's been about filling the gaps, right? Okay, you lose Dominic Pooney to graduation. How can you fill that gap? Or, you're looking for someone to help bridge the gap between Kenny Logan and the next generation, and you get a Marvin Grant. This is really the first time where there have been wholesale changes, and KU has had to go to the portal to get starting caliber players across the board. And so I think that storyline is super fascinating. Obviously, we've seen KU develop players internally over time. I think we're starting to get to the point here where we're going to see now in the next 2 years, how has KU done evaluating high school talent? You're never going to hit on 100% of your guys. And I think realistically, you're probably more in the 50%. But this day and age, with basically a salary cap, it is so important to hit on your high school recruits because those guys are cheaper to retain than it is to go out in the portal and compete with 5 other, Big 12 teams trying to get a starting left tackle. And so it's why getting a Calvin Clements on the high school front is so important. And so for KU, I think this season in particular, it's such a fascinating dynamic that this is a roster that this coaching staff went out and evaluated in the portal and found guys that they feel like fit what they want to do. And we'll see how it works. It could work, it could not, but I think it's going to be a really good indication of what this next phase of the program is going to be like now that a lot of those former, Les Miles recruits that were developed by Leipold's staff, now those guys are gone, right? We're heading into a different kind of era for this program. And I think this season is so fascinating because of that.
We're talking to Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. This is Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. The 2026 football recruiting class has gotten off to a great start for Lance Leipold and company, but took a bit of a hit over the weekend with the decommitment of Landon Anderson, a defensive lineman that I know that folks were really excited about scoring the commitment out of the state of Oklahoma. What can you tell us about his decommitment and what it means for how the defensive line class for 2026 is going to shake out for KU?
Yeah, it's one of those where I think you look at the way that KU has handled recruitments, and one of the conversations Leipold has, like, say, Dan, you're in the office of Leipold, you want to commit to KU. Well, one of the things he's going to tell you is, all right, you want to commit to us? We are ready to commit to you. But we're not going to drop you. We don't do that. Blah blah blah. We're going to give you the chance at KU. Well, in return, the ask is of the recruit. Well, if you're going to be committed to us, you can't go take visits elsewhere, and you have to be committed, right? Loyal, and be ready to be a part of the program. And Landon Anderson went out and took a secret official visit to Arizona State that I don't think he was super forthcoming with KU about. And then he went to go visit KU and kind of got the chance to come clean is not the right way to say it, but, basically say, all right, I'm committed. I'm shutting down my recruitment. No more visits, no more of this stuff. And then he goes to Oklahoma State last weekend. And so that right there tells you what he is thinking, and that he does not have a recruitment that is shut down. And I think it's one of those things where you could call it a mutual parting of ways, because I don't think Landon Anderson was committed, and I don't think KU was ready to keep him as a commit either. So that's just kind of how it works these days, and it's such a challenging dynamic, because KU was an early offer for him when he committed. He had 3 offers, and obviously he's got more opportunities now, and that's all great. But at the same time, I made this point on the board the other day, like, if you've got someone that is supposed to be committed and all in on your program, but they are still looking around before they step foot on campus, what's going to happen when they step foot on campus and start producing? Well, they're going to start looking around. So I think it's one of those things where you have to be very, very, I think, specific and very diligent with the recruits these days. And you got to make sure that they understand that, what commitment means, and also understanding who they are personality-wise. So for KU, it doesn't work out. Landon Anderson's a good player. Like, he's probably going to go to Oklahoma State, Baylor maybe. And I think he's got some really good traits. But I think on the other hand, from a KU perspective, I think they would probably say, well, we've got to keep the integrity of this class. You can't have kids taking visits and not have repercussions up for it.
You mentioned the fact that you are committed and you stay committed to KU, essentially. Once you commit, that's it. And the KU coaching staff prefers, and they're really stringent on the idea that once you are committed, you are 100% committed to the Jayhawk football program. Do you think that has led to being one of the reasons that KU doesn't have as many players hit the transfer portal as other Power 4 programs have seemed to over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think so. And it goes back to kind of the point I just made, where I think you got to really understand the kid that you're adding, right? These are still, really in high school recruiting. These are 16, 17-year-old guys. Like, they're young, right? They don't have it all figured out. And so I think that you look at what KU does and the way that they do a good job, I think, of figuring out who these guys are, away from the field. I think that has resulted in there being a very high stick rate, where the guys that are showing up on campus want to be at KU. KU's not having to, make exceptions and find different ways to, oh, well, okay, you want to go see this school? Okay, man, you can. Well, we just hope you stay. It's like, no, like, if you want to be here, you don't want to be here. And so I think that kind of mindset, it helps you retain players, because when they step foot on campus, they want to be there. And I think Leipold has said it several times. There are players who depart because they want to go play somewhere. And maybe it turns out that, hey, they might be a good football player, but maybe not good enough to play consistently at KU, and they want to go play somewhere. That's totally fine. Like Sevion Morrison, I think, is a good example of that, right? Good enough player to, I think, be a rotation option at KU, but hey, he's about to be a senior. He wants to go and be a top running back somewhere. You go for it, man. And I think that a part of this whole relationship building process and the way that the players are treated when they're on campus, the honesty, I think all of that goes together to create an environment where players want to be in there, but also if it comes down to it down the road and it's kind of obvious that they're not going to play at KU, they're more than welcome to say, okay, hey, yeah, go play somewhere, right? Take a step down, right? go find a spot where you can go play football if that's what's going to make you happy. So I think to put it all together, I think you're right. It's a good reason why KU, I think, has done a great job of keeping roster continuity.
Michael Swain of Fog.net is our guest. This is Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. Michael joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. So KU football loses a defensive line commit from the state of Oklahoma, and they also add one over the weekend, 3-star Naquane Carter committing to the class of 2026. Is this a bit of like for like in terms of style of player? Is this a player that KU would have taken even if Landon Anderson had remained committed? What can you indicate to us about Naquane Carter's commitment?
Yeah, so KU's going to take 2 defensive tackles. So, I think ideally for KU going into the summer, they would have kept Landon Anderson and added, either Alistair Vallejo or Naquane Carter and been perfectly fine with it. So you add Carter. He's someone that, I mentioned it in our scouting report, like reminds me of Devin Phillips from a couple years ago, right? Guy, not the tallest, but man, is he powerful? And does he really move well off the ball? And those are 2 things Jim Panagos, the defensive tackles coach, really looks for. So you get someone in Naquane Carter who can kind of play more of that. The KU doesn't play the nose guard, but a guy that does line up maybe more slightly shaded to the interior. And then, coming up this weekend, KU's got Lucas Smalls-Allen coming in for a visit. He's a kid from Georgia. You look at him, he's 6'4", about 270. Landon Anderson, 6'3", 275. Like, profile-wise, in terms of the length and the athleticism that KU wants from some of the defensive tackles, those 2 are pretty close. So I think for KU, it looks pretty good for Lucas Smalls-Allen. You never know these days, right? Kids can get on campus and not like it. But I think that's probably the pathway things are trending right now.
Pivoting from football recruiting to basketball recruiting, KU's search for a backup big man continues, and I know they've had their eyes on some overseas prospects. One of them does not appear that it's going to work out, but they've got another one on their radar. What can you tell us, including a pronunciation, if you've got one, on Ege Demir from Turkey?
Yeah, I think you got it. But yeah, so he's someone that and initially was going to go to college back in 2022. He committed to UCLA. Obviously, UCLA, not the easiest school to get into. And so he did not have a high enough English language score to get into UCLA. So that was basically put on hold. And since then, he's been playing professionally. He averaged about 15 minutes a game for his team in Turkey. I think he's the type of player that if KU's able to add him, would definitely bring some physicality to the center position, definitely more of a bruiser at center than maybe a Flory Badunga. And I think if you're projecting, hey, what does KU need in the backup center? I think you need a big guy, right? A guy that's not going to be moved around easy. You don't need another kind of Flory Badunga style of forward. So I think he checks a lot of boxes. But look, the issues you're going to find here is that, okay, he tried to come over before, it didn't work out. I think the English language stuff is in a better spot than it was then, but now you're talking about a guy that's played professionally for multiple years. There's just all sorts of stuff when it comes to these international players that's a factor. So KU is involved. They're going to try and get him. I think things look good in terms of KU being positioned to get him. Now it's just a question of, can he get eligible? And as we saw with Bryce Desert, it can look good, and then all of a sudden, you find a little piece of information about it, and all of a sudden, nope, it's not going to happen. So I think for KU right now, they're trying to figure out exactly, can he get eligible? What needs to happen for him to get eligible? And then obviously the kid needs to pick KU, and that's not a slam dunk right now, but I think KU is an attractive opportunity. So we'll have to see where it goes.
With minimal roster spots still available, do you get the sense that KU's got a lot of irons in the fire right now, or at least as many as you can possibly have at this stage in the roster building process, very late in the roster building process, or Bill Self and staff being very selective and kind of honing their focus in, making sure that they've really got a chance with a player before advancing any further down the road in recruiting?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, right? I think there's about 3 spots left. They're involved with Cameron McDowell, from Northwestern Oklahoma State. He was on campus for a visit. He's got his own eligibility issues that they're trying to figure out. They're involved in their international kid. So I think there are a decent amount of irons on the fire, but it's not one of those where I think when we were talking at the beginning of the spring, and you're like, oh, well, they're on this guy and this guy. It's a little different now. So I think from KU's perspective, they are trying to juggle several recruitments at once, but then they've also got to make sure that A, they've got a chance with these kids if they're going to put in the work, but then B, that they can get eligible too. So I think that there's a reason that players are available right now. And so I think they've got to make sure they're doing their due diligence as well to make sure that they can get eligible and that they're not going to put all this effort into a kid. And then all of a sudden it's, and he can't go play college basketball, or he can't reclassify, or he can't do something like that. So they're managing it. It's one of those where we've seen KU add players in August, and would not surprise me if that happens this year.
Michael Swain covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. If you're a VIP subscriber, which you should be, you will get all of Michael's inside info on the latest in recruiting for both football and basketball, plus so much more great KU info. He joins us every Tuesday at this time. Michael, it is always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Awesome. Sounds great. Talk to you guys next week.
That is Michael Swain. More 580 Sports Talk after this. Our thanks again to Michael Swain for joining us for Jayhawk Weekly. Always great to catch up with Michael. Great insight as always.
Thanks, Michael.
Text from the 615 on the text line. I'm intrigued. A lot of pundits have KU at about 8.5 wins despite all the turnover. I think that's a belief in what Leipold is building. It's a belief that Jalen Daniels can be really good in a full, healthy season. And I think that's a bet that I understand if you're willing to make.
Yeah, man, 8.5 is considerable. I haven't seen the I'm trying to pull it up right now. We're like 15 seconds away from a commercial break. I'm trying to find the win total for KU. I don't know if I'm going to have the time to do it. I don't think I'd go for 8.5. You give me 6.5. Oh yeah, I'd go over.
Yeah, I think I would too without thinking too hard about it. Headlines, more Royals and Chiefs minicamp coming up at 5 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. If you're just joining us, welcome in. If you've been hanging out with us, thanks for being a part of this Tuesday show on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color. Our YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Our Facebook page, WIBW News, 2 ways to watch the live stream. Again, however you're hanging out with us, we just appreciate that you are with us on this Tuesday here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, and Spencer Dupuis with you for this one more hour. And we'll have a little overtime ahead of Royals baseball tonight. 6:30 pregame, 7:05 first pitch from Globe Life Field in Arlington. The Royals in desperate need of some good mojo, trying to snap a 6-game skid as they take on the Texas Rangers tonight in the first of a 3-game series. Seth Lugo takes the ball for KC tonight. Jack Leiter on the hill for the Rangers. Again, 7:05 first pitch, which means pregame at 6:30, which means the 580 Sports Talk overtime. If you missed our chat with Michael Swain, we'll run it back as our overtime conversation of the day. Want to hear from you in the comments or the chat on our YouTube stream. Again, place to find that is our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe to the channel if you have yet to do so and interact with your fellow listeners as we go along throughout the day. You can also text the show, 785-272-9429. That's 785-272-9429. Coming up this hour, we got Royals-Rangers Game 1 preview. We'll talk a little Chiefs minicamp, mandatory minicamp. How many things are mandatory in your life?
Metallica.
Mandatory Metallica?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, work's mandatory. You can't just not show up to work.
Yeah, you do have to collect your paycheck. You have to
Think about
sing
this.
for your supper.
Think about this, though. They have workouts in the off season that aren't mandatory.
This is true.
That's just like work, though. Like, that's going to work.
Yeah, it's a little like even going back to like high school, like involuntary workouts for like, hey, you know, you got conditioning, fall conditioning for baseball in the spring. You don't have to go. But what's left unsaid is the part you want to play, you'll be there.
Yeah, I'm a believer, at least for like rookies, mostly guys on rookie contracts, they got to be there. I'm a believer that voluntary workouts are mandatory for one person on your team. Truly mandatory. That is your starting quarterback.
Yeah.
If you are the starting quarterback, you be there. It's one thing that, other than the fact that he's a loon, kind of rubbed me the wrong way about Aaron Rodgers in his latter years with Green Bay. You are the starting quarterback. You are the face of the franchise. You are paid like it. You get the adulation for it. You get the attention and the praise for it. Be there at voluntary workouts.
Yeah.
I think that is a small price to pay for everything else that comes with being an NFL quarterback, starting quarterback. Be there. Otherwise, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like if Chris Jones didn't go to voluntary workouts, Chris Jones does not need even like one more collision on his body. That does not bother me. Travis Kelce, if he didn't go, honestly, wouldn't bother me. Really wouldn't. But he's a team first guy.
There are just some words that only get used in certain contexts, like in general, unless it's like the written word, but usually like the spoken word, like the word ensuing. When have you heard the word ensuing without the word kickoff immediately following?
Here's a good one. What anywhere in the world kicks inside other than an undersized offensive lineman?
That's
nothing else kicks inside.
Yeah, that is a particular, that is a very particular turn of phrase for that. Yeah, mandatory. You know, you will see like attendance is mandatory, but usually that's the end of the sentence. The only words that follow mandatory in a sentence are minicamp and Metallica.
Yep.
If you've ever listened to a rock station of any kind.
Yeah, not to name names, but there's one in Kansas City that 9:00 on weeknights, they're going to play 3 Metallica songs back to back to back, no commercial break. And you better believe it. If I'm in the car at that time, I'm turning to that radio station. I'm listening to mandatory Metallica.
KBPI in Denver used to do mandatory Metallica. I don't know if they still do, but I also they didn't have like a set time for it. It was just like, well, we have to play Metallica at some point. So here's Metallica. It's mandatory that we play Metallica.
Sick.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're the rock station. KBPI rocks the Rockies. So we play Metallica.
You a Metallica guy?
Not too much. I mean, like, it'll be in a playlist.
Okay. You know Metallica more than you knew Rush, though.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite Metallica song?
Favorite Metallica song?
It's okay to say Enter Sandman.
That's it.
Okay. It is a great song.
Yeah.
Every football stadium for the rest of time will be playing it.
Do you have a favorite, or they're just so like?
Yeah,
they're your favorite band, and I understand. Like, my favorite band's Queens of the Stone Age. I cannot pick a favorite Queens of the Stone Age song. It changes every.
I know. I made you do it for Random Question Tuesday a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, my favorite is Creeping Death.
Okay,
but when I went to the concert in last August, oh my God, that was almost a year ago. Good God. When I went to their concert on the drive there, I put together my top 25 list because it was too hard. Like, I can't pick a favorite album. I cannot do it. It's Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All. You ask me today, it's one. You ask me tomorrow, it's another one.
Sure.
Creeping Death's number one. Probably always. Dyer's Eve is up there. Master of Puppets, Disposable Heroes, they're both up there. Yeah. I am America's number one fan of The Day That Never Comes.
I like Seek and Destroy.
That is a great song.
Awesome song.
I like Seek and Destroy.
Great one. Great one.
Sting's entrance music for many years.
Yeah. That was not so when I went to the show, and they're still doing this tour. They extended it. They're just gonna tour forever. They tour all the time. But they've been doing no repeat weekend where they do a show with a set list Friday and they do the totally different set list on Sunday. So they split the hits. Like, we got Enter Sandman and One to end the night. The other show got Seek and Destroy and Master of Puppets. And there's a few that got played every Friday or every Sunday with a couple random ones mixed in. I did not know The Day That Never Comes was going to get played at my show. And midway through the set, they played it, and I freaked the you-know-what out. I was losing my mind.
I remember listening to Death Magnetic in 2008. I was like, oh, my God, this is a genuinely good Metallica album in 2008.
It was
great. It's a good album.
I got into them when I was in 6th grade. And the most recent album that had come out when I was in 6th grade was Saint Anger. And
what a time to get into Metallica.
Yeah, they needed a bounce back.
That's like if you became a Chiefs fan during the Tyler Thigpen years. Like, those were the teams that hooked me.
And I had to get into like the old school stuff. It was like, oh wow, they were cool before Lars Ulrich discovered trash cans. And then Death Magnetic came out, and I was like, oh wait, this is actually good. Nice. Yeah. We're back. We're so back, brother.
All Nightmare Long, like that.
Yes, the theme song to WWE Unforgiven 2008.
Take your word for it.
It's the truth. Look it up.
No, I believe it.
But yeah, I could name you. Somewhat obsessive is how I would describe myself.
Yeah,
but a lot of things actually.
A lot of songs of theirs I really like. For some reason, the first one that jumped to mind is Battery.
Great track.
Unbelievable intro.
You can't tell there aren't a lot of headlines today.
No, this is an extremely slow news day. I had not planned to talk about Metallica. I had planned to tell you guys a story about I got a bird in my garage today.
Yeah, I saw your Blue Sky post.
I did. A bird was in my garage, and it would not leave.
Well, he wasn't in your house.
At least he was not in my house. That was,
you've ever seen the thing where like they're just birds that live in malls?
Oh yeah, the doors are and the windows are open all the time. Yeah,
yeah, from when they were building it, or like Home Depots. They live in Home Depots.
I saw a bird walking around the Home Depot. What was it, last weekend? 2 weekends ago?
Yeah. No, I totally.
They get in the garden center and they just chill.
We saw a bird at the Wells Fargo Center in Des Moines, Wells Fargo Arena.
Oh wow, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, we did
on the jumbotron during the
NCAA
tournament. It was just chilling.
True.
Yeah,
that's true.
Birds, they get inside and they don't know how to get outside. But if you're in a garage, outside is right there.
Yes.
The door to my garage is open, and this bird, it was a brown thrasher, by the way. It had multiple sources confirm it was a brown thrasher, and it was just flying around the ceiling of my garage, landed on I got like coolers up on a shelf, landed on a cooler. It was just walking around on the garage. I'm pretty sure it crapped on the garage. We have to clean the garage door. That's a pain in the ass.
Guano.
Just flying around. I've got like a broom. I'm not like chasing it around. I'm not trying to harm it, but I'm trying to
just shoot it away. Yeah,
guide it to where it might see that there is in fact a place to fly out.
Do you leave your garage door open ever? Just like during the day?
Not typically, unless I'm doing yard work. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless like I've got to get the mower out or like I'm doing yard work. No, the garage stays closed.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my garage used to be open from like 8 a.m. until like 9
Yeah,
p.m.
when I grew up too. Yeah.
So anyway, I got this bird in my garage, and I got to leave. Like I got to get back to work. And my wife would run an errand. My in-laws were over. They were keeping an eye on Asher real quick. We had taken him he had an appointment today. Got some shots, so we didn't want to take him to daycare today in case he had a bad reaction. Anyway, it's the whole thing. So I'm ready to leave, but I'm chasing this bird around my garage for like 10 minutes, and finally I'm like, all right, this is gonna be my wife's problem to solve. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave the garage door open. Hopefully this bird will find his way to the exit. And I back my car out, and I'll be damned if that bird doesn't make a beeline for my car and land on the hood. Just lands on the hood of my car as I'm outside, and he's sitting there.
He wanted to hang.
He just I wanted to leave, but he wanted a ride, and so I backed up a little bit more, and it flew off over the roof, and presumably it went on to do whatever it is that birds like to do. But for a while there, it was very discombobulated, and it was funny. You could hear it like clattering along, like making little bird tracks on top of my garage door. Wild deal. Anyway, Mark B in the YouTube comments says, "I need a plastic owl and a plastic snake for the
there you go.
The garage. That'll keep him out." That's nothing compared to the time I found a possum in there. Like, possum lived in my garage for like 2 days before we realized that there was a possum.
I forgot about that.
Man, it ate like a welcome mat. It ate like a rubber mat because like it didn't have access to food, and garage door wasn't open enough to get out. So yeah, I gotta keep critters out of my garage, man. I had a possum, and like I don't live like out there. Like I live in the city. Like I live very residentially. I should not have Jack Handy's whole menagerie in my garage.
Yeah, right.
But
too many animals.
It is a slow news day. But let's get to those 580 Sports Talk headlines. We start with some sad news from the world of Kansas high school football. The news today that legendary high school coach Roger Barta has passed away at the age of 79. Kansas Pregame Magazine first to report this. John Betts, the proprietor of Kansas Pregame, one of hundreds of youths who had their lives touched by Roger Barta, played at Smith Center High School under Barta, who was the head coach there from 1978 to 2012. A career record of 323 and 68. Smith Center won 8 state titles under Barta, set the state record for consecutive wins, won 79 games in a row, started winning to start the 2024 season, didn't lose again until the 2009 state championship game when they fell, I believe it was to Centralia in overtime. Obviously, a tremendous run at that program. So many of his former players went on to become head coaches. His son, Brooks, been the longtime head coach at Holton and has run the wishbone system that Smith Center used for so many years to great success. Kyle Schenk, who guided St. Mary's to the state title in 2022, was a Smith Center Redman as well. And there are countless others. The Lambert boys, Andy and Tim, who are names people know around here who have been high school coaches. Mark Simoneau, the most famous playing alumni of the Smith Center program, great career at K-State, 10-year NFL career. Roger Barta, an absolute legend, a Kansas Sports Hall of Famer, one of the winningest coaches in state history, the 8 state titles, the state record for consecutive wins. Dead today at 79, but an absolutely legendary life. Spencer, do yourself a favor.
I did some research earlier today.
I was going to tell you, pick up a copy of Our Boys if you have not read it.
That was going to be on the list here soon, but
get to your local library.
I liked his philosophy on passing. I thought it was interesting.
What was that?
He said there's 3 things that could come out of passing. 2 of them are negative.
Correct.
Yep, that's the old Darryl Royal philosophy.
Yeah. And he is right. That is absolutely correct. NFL, as I've said for many years, NFL always pass. College and high school always run.
Yeah.
No, legendary coach. That's on my reading list. It's on my bookshelf at home.
Yep.
I have not read it yet, but I mean, I picked that one out intentionally. That I was thinking about it because I'm in the middle of a book right now. I'm back to reading now. We're back in a reading phase.
That's
now.
amazing that you can do that with a small child. I have read like 0.25 books since Asher was born.
I go to bed about 6 hours after my daughter does, which is how.
Sure.
I have to wait until nighttime, until everybody else is asleep, then I can. But I was going to wait till August. I wanted to read it in the lead up to the season.
Yeah, get excited for the season. Check that out. Check out Brother. I think I don't remember, Brothers from the Bone, I believe, is what it is called. It's at kansaspregame.com. It's a publication that was put out upon Barda's retirement in 2012. Some great stories from his former players and just a history of the program, if that's a story that you want to know more about. But it's a story well known, of course, across the state of Kansas, memorialized by Joe Drape in his bestseller, his great book, Our Boys. Roger Barda passed away at the age of 79 today. Thoughts are with his 4 children, his rest of his family, everybody who knew him, played for him, competed against him, and loved him, which is a very, very long list.
First headline for me today, since there's not a lot breaking today, I want to get to some news that actually broke this weekend. We didn't get a chance to get to it on yesterday's show, but some realignment happenings around college sports and college football. The Pac-12 reportedly has found its new top target to add to the league, and if they get an invitation, they're going to say yes. According to Pete Thamel and Kyle Bonagura of ESPN, Texas State down in San Marcos is the heavy favorite to get the next invitation from the Pac-12. So what has to happen with the Pac-12? They currently have, for their next era, which will begin next year, I believe, 26-27? Yes, 26-27. They've got 8 members, 7 of whom are football-playing members. The other member is Gonzaga, who obviously does not play football. They need to be an official FBS conference by 26-27. They need to have 8 full-time football-playing members, and they must all be current schools in FBS. So Sacramento State is trying to move up. By the way, their waiver is going to get denied. They're trying to move up to get to an independent status. They wanted a Pac-12 invite. They're not going to get it, and it wouldn't count anyway. It needs to be an FBS team. Texas State, they are expected to move from the Sun Belt to the Pac-12. Obviously, that's a lot of travel. Texas State already is the farthest west team in the Sun Belt, so it doesn't really change a whole lot for them. They're going to have to travel one way or the other
instead of east.
Right. Yeah, it just changes what time zones they're going to play in. So that is significant. This is also from Pete Thamel, his writing here. The Pac-12 has flailed a bit since their initial additions of Fresno State, San Diego State, Boise State, Colorado State. Did not get UNLV or Air Force because they got weighted payouts to stay in the Mountain West. Eventually, they added Utah State. They wanted to add Tulane, but Tulane said no, they weren't interested. Thought about Memphis, but there are financial problems there from the American Athletic Conference, so they end up going with Texas State instead. As for Memphis, what are they going to do? Well, they are thinking, according to this, of trying to work out a football-only membership with the Pac-12. Memphis in the Pac-12. Think about that. They would only play football in that conference. Well, what would they do with the rest of their sports? According to Pete Thamel, they are interested in putting all their other sports, basketball included, in the Big East. Do you think the Big East Conference would go for that?
It's like, I think they'd be better basketball wise.
Yeah.
With the addition of Memphis. So yeah, they probably would. I mean, basketball's their meal ticket, right? Like,
yeah.
Anything to make that part of their brand better, I think they probably would go for it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, reasonable, easier to travel to Memphis distance wise than to Omaha, to play Creighton. So now granted, they would be the second public school to join the league other than UConn, who, of course, historically also a Big East member. So that's what's going on with Memphis. They might go big or football only to one league, all other sports to another. As for the Sun Belt, what are they going to do if Texas State does leave? And I do believe they will. According to Pete Thamel, Louisiana Tech might be the next option to go to the Sun Belt. Did you know the Sun Belt is the only FBS conference that kept divisions? Everybody else dumped them except the Sun Belt.
Yeah, because Marshall's been East Division champions.
Yes, this is good. The Sun Belt is like the most ethical league in America.
Yeah, it really is.
It's probably a little big. It's probably got a little bloat to it, but the football is good. They have regional rivalries still.
Everybody they've added has made sense. Like Louisiana Tech is, I almost was shocked to remember that they don't already have membership in the Sun Belt.
Because they have beef, if I remember correctly, with a lot of other members.
Beef with Louisiana Tech. We Marshall football fans don't want Louisiana Tech.
But yes, that's your latest realignment update from around college football.
Spencer, give me a headline.
Yes, this coming from the Chiefs Communications. I believe I'm saying, is it Mears?
Yes.
Okay. Dan Mears announces his retirement following a 35-year career as the Kansas City Wolf. The original KC Wolf calls it a career mascot Hall of Fame in 2006, Missouri Sports Hall of Fame in 2020, a 14-time Pro Bowl.
I did not realize that mascots got Pro Bowl
yes.
selections each year like players.
Yes, but he graduated from Missouri in 1990 after spending 4 years as Truman the Tiger. He was also Freebird as St. Louis Fredbird. Sorry, Fredbird as the St. Louis Cardinals mascot there for a little stint. He does so on National Mascots Day. How fitting.
35 years as Casey. I did not know it was the same guy.
Yeah, I would not have assumed that either.
Yeah.
And he's obviously done some tremendous charity work in the community over his time as KC Wolf as well. All of the plaudits well deserved. He's the only mascot in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
Apparently, this has been known for a while.
Take that,
I'm assuming,
Fredbird.
because they already basically have their next KC Wolf.
Okay,
according to reports, they're well through the process.
They have
whatever
wolf in waiting.
That is.
They have the wolf in waiting.
Yeah.
When white smoke appears
out of One Arrowhead Drive,
you will know they have picked a new KC Wolf.
Comes from the smokestack at the Boulevard Brewery.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Awesome career and really an iconic mascot in the National Football League. If you know NFL mascots, he's one of the first ones you're gonna that will come to your mind. And that is quite a when you leave a legacy as a mascot, you've really done something special.
Yeah,
and he legitimately has done so, not just as KC Wolf, but as Dan Mears, and that's a pretty cool thing.
I believe he's going to be a contributor to the team.
Okay,
is what they're saying. So I don't know what that
means. Sort of front office analyst job, I'm sure.
Give him something.
Real quick.
Coming to work a day.
What is your favorite interaction with a mascot you've ever had? Extended Random Question Tuesday.
I got to take a sweet picture with I was around Big J for a long, long time. But he came up to me when I did the Washburn game at KU this year and took a picture with me, even though I was wearing Washburn stuff, pointing at each other. We did the one finger point thing. Yeah, that's up there. Not Tommy Hawk putting his gross beak on my head.
One of my friends from college, she was the Marco mascot for Marshall. So I would always be pointed out and done the little stuff like this. Just because I was there.
Yeah, one of my good friends was Baby J for a couple of years.
Because it's hey, we know you won't you won't do anything dumb. So we're gonna come mess with you when you're on the court sidelines.
My favorite, aside from all of the ones in a professional capacity that I've had at Big 12 media days, when the mascots are all there and they'll come and sit at your table and put your headset on and goof around for pictures, and that I always get a kick out of that. Was in the bowels of the Chi Health Center. It was the CenturyLink Center in Omaha before that Duke KU regional final in 2018, and I walked by the Duke Blue Devil, and he stuck out his hand for some dap. And me, not thinking and not wanting to leave him hanging, dapped him up. I dapped up the Duke Blue Devil.
That was nearly a very bad omen for Kansas.
It really almost was.
One other note, this did not directly involve me. It's a good thing KU won the national title in 2022, because if not, the thing that would have gone the most viral from that NCAA tournament would have been the mascot from Texas Southern University obliterating Baby J in the dance contest. Oh God!
Yeah, Texas Southern. Yeah, a little more rhythm in the Tiger.
And then it happened again in Des Moines the next year when they played Howard.
They gotta quit. They're really stacking the deck against Baby J.
Come on. Show our little bird with shoes some love, guys.
One text from 785 says they took a picture with the San Diego chicken.
That's nice.
I had a stuffed San Diego chicken as a kid. Another one from the 785 asking what a mascot makes in a year. I cannot tell you exactly, but I do know and was able to find that at one time, Rocky, the Denver Nuggets mascot, was clearing $625K a year.
Wow.
And you know what? Worth every penny. That's the greatest mascot ever.
Yeah, every website just cites very dubious results for what KC Wolf gets paid.
Google AI says anywhere between $30,000 to $625,000 per year.
That's a very helpful answer, Google AI. Very helpful frame that which we can narrow down an answer there.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate that. Let's do a playoff roundup to conclude our 580 Sports Talk headlines today.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
Game 5 of the NBA Finals goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Jalen Williams scores 40 points as the Thunder defeat the Indiana Pacers 120-109 to move one win away from the franchise's second championship in history. Never forget, they were the Supersonics. They won a title in Seattle. I will not allow them to erase the history of the Seattle Supersonics. Game 6 in 2 nights. Tyrese Halliburton has a strained calf.
Yeah, it's over.
If he is moving around in Game 6 like he did for most of Game 5, there will not be a Game 7.
Yeah, it's a bummer. This series has been awesome, but he is not even close to right now. That sucks. It's been such a fun series.
As tends to be the case, got to be healthy at the end of this. There's a lot of things that matter, but maybe the thing that matters the most is, did you get all your guys to the finish line? And the path to a championship is littered with teams who could not get their guys to the finish line, whether that was Jason Tatum's Achilles or Aaron Gordon's hamstring or now the calf of Tyrese Halliburton. You got to get your guys to the finish line. And the Thunder, to their credit, because they've got some guys with an injury history. Chet Holmgren, the injury history, but all their guys are playing.
Yep.
And all their guys are going to make it to the finish line, which
more than anything, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is playing and Jalen Williams is playing because he has been unbelievable.
Yeah, Jalen Williams really good at home. With like most role players, increases his.
He's going crazy.
Yeah, increases.
I didn't realize
play.
he was all defense this year. I did not know that. He made an NBA all defensive team.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have guessed that about some of their other guys, but
sure.
Wouldn't have guessed that about him. Tonight, the Cup is in the building in Sunrise, Florida at Amerant Bank Arena for Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final. The Florida Panthers can raise it for the second consecutive year. If they can beat the Oilers, they lead that series 3-2. The Oilers picked their starting goaltender today for tonight's game. It'll be Stuart Skinner after Calvin Pickard had started the previous couple of games. That's not great when you are facing elimination and you don't know who's going to play goalie until the day of the game.
That's rough.
That's kind of how the Oilers have gotten here, where they've kind of alternated, tried to ride the hot hand.
Mm-hmm.
That typically is not how Stanley Cups are won.
No.
But I think the Panthers probably finish them off.
I think so too.
That's your playoff roundup. We'll take a break. When we come back, some Chiefs talk on the first day of a 3-day mandatory minicamp. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk. Mandatory minicamp underway for the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody was present except for Trey Watson. That includes Trey Smith, who is still in search of a long-term contract. Prepared to play on the franchise tag, perhaps. We'll see. But Trey Smith, the right guard for the Chiefs, was in camp today. Travis Kelce was in camp looking slim. He's svelte.
I believe he caught a touchdown pass.
He did. Caught a short touchdown. Showed off the gritty.
I will say, who is Trey Watson? And why is he missing camp?
I'm sure he's got his reasons.
I thought this was Christian Watson's brother, Trey, for a minute.
Now, this
and
is,
I thought, wow, why did they sign him?
Former Texas A&M tight end Trey Watson.
Yeah.
A UDFA. Just wasn't there today. Couldn't make it.
From Rio Rancho, New Mexico.
Sorry,
I don't want to be like I don't want to be flip. He may have a family issue or something like that. He may have just been sick and couldn't get out of bed. And it'd be like that sometimes. But that was the only guy who didn't show, and obviously that's not a contract thing. So
you don't think the undrafted tight end camp tryout is holding out?
This $25,000 bonus is an insult.
You know what's more insulting? We're going to get you a cab, and that's it. I guess it'd be an Uber these days.
So everybody was there. There's lots of video. There's highlights. It was open practice. There were some fans that were able to be there and enjoyed what they got to see at One Arrowhead Drive.
Can you Uber to Arrowhead? Where would they drop you off?
So like for
the Taco Bell,
the gas station. No, they have designated lanes.
Oh, okay.
They have designated lanes. I think like the top where you turn in off of, you get off the Blue Ridge cutoff there.
Okay.
They've got a designated lane or two for ride share.
Oh,
like they've got. Yeah,
I did not know that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's that would be how you do it.
I hope they never leave Arrowhead. I really do truly hope that. But I will say I hate parking there so much that it makes me never want to go to a game again. Like,
parking sucks, man. Even for the media, the parking situation, like maybe it's better for like, I'm sure Adam Teicher has a better parking spot than like I get when I go cover.
Yeah.
But if you're just like single game credentialed media, you might be parked in the middle of a tailgate.
Yeah, I parked by the K when I went to cover a game in the 19 season, and I stayed for post game. I did locker room. I at least started my gamer and everything. I walk out to the lot. I still had like a 40-minute wait to get out of the damn lot.
Yep.
Oh my! I can't take it. I hate traffic so much, man.
Thanks for reminding me what next Tuesday is going to be like.
Are you going to a concert?
No.
Oh,
Royals game.
Oh, it's different.
You're not going to
totally
have a 40-minute wait to get out of Tuesday night Royals Rays in June. With
yeah,
the Royals
if it's a 40-minute wait,
the Royals were better.
I'm just gonna assume you like drove into a bush. Like, yeah,
you drove in circles around Kauffman
even
Stadium.
to a well-attended game. I don't think I've ever waited more than like maybe 15 minutes to get out of the
I just remember when I went last year, I got confused at where to get out, and then all of a sudden
that can happen.
That'll do it. Yeah.
All of a sudden I was like further east than I really thought I wanted to be.
No, that'll happen.
And then I had to loop back around and go somewhere else, and it was an interesting time.
It is 80 days until the Chiefs kick off. Number 80 on the Chiefs camp roster is a gentleman named Elijah Badger, an undrafted free agent from Florida by way of Arizona State. Got a big NIL bag to play his final year of eligibility in the SEC. Put up some good numbers. Lance Zierlein was a fan. The NFL.com's draft guy.
Friend of the program.
Rated him as a good backup with the potential to develop into a starter and wrote about him. There are times when Badger looks like the youngster on the playground who's a grade older than everybody else and able to do whatever he wants. He's on the lighter side, won't outrun NFL coverage, but the game comes naturally for him. If he can handle more physical NFL coverage, he has the talent to become a wide receiver 3. That is not the kind of praise that usually is given to undrafted free agent types. The concern with Badger is he was the youngster on the playground, a grade older than everyone else, because he was 23 years old playing college football last year. So, you take some of his film last season in Florida with a bit of a grain of salt. But he did have another highlight today. Had an impressive touchdown catch from Chris Oladokun. The fact that he was working with Chris Oladokun and not Patrick Mahomes tells you a little something. But also the fact that his UDFA bonus was $25K and not, a more significant outlay of money. But there's talent here. And as we were talking yesterday about Nico Remigio, there's not behind the 5 guys we know are going to make the team a lot of certainty. And there might not be a lot of roster spots, but Elijah Badger certainly feels like he's going to be, camp darling turned practice squad guy. They need a new Cornell Powell. Maybe this is it.
Cornell Powell got to hang around for a long time.
He's got rings, man. Plural. And now he's got one from the UFL.
UFL, the United States and XFL.
I knew
United.
you guys would correct me. It's fine.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. You need depth. If you are going to do what I think the Chiefs should do, and that is keep Nico Remigio as your 6th wide receiver, then I believe you need to really check out guys like this, because you need to have depth. You need special teamers, obviously. And if you're that cheap or on that cheap of a contract, it is certainly worth it if you can keep a guy like that around. So, yeah, is he going to make a huge impact? No, I don't think so. I don't think he'll probably ever be a wide receiver 3, but I do think there's at least some reason to be interested here. But you do have to question the age thing. When you're 23 years old and you're dunking on 19-year-old corners who are going to go pro in something other than sports, then yeah, sure, there's reason to ask some questions.
Yeah, you got to be careful of the film, right? Like you watch scouting from the film, like that's going to show you some really impressive stuff last year at Florida. But again, 23-year-old going up against some younger competition, even in the SEC, he should have been fairly dominant. I mean, he 21 yards a catch last season. He was.
Yeah, he ran a 4.4 at the combine. I mean, he combine athlete. That's something. He's not truly Joe Schmo. I'm at least intrigued.
Yeah, I'm more interested in him than a guy like we talked about Tyquan Thornton yesterday, who had the draft pedigree, but we've also seen his movies in NFL games, and they're not that impressive.
I'm more interested in him than Justin Ross.
Here's a fun Tyquan Thornton fact. Pete Sweeney, who covers the Chiefs, noted this on X earlier today. Tyquan Thornton was doing some special teams work today as the gunner. And
really?
Yeah. So that tells me that they're maybe trying to find a use for him. That is not a role that Thornton was comfortable with. And look, kudos for him for understanding, hey, look, this might be the way I stay in the National Football League.
That's true.
This might be the way I'm not a Seattle Sea Urchin next year or whatever the
Sea Dragon. They might be coming back. The league might expand.
I didn't know they ever left.
Oh, but yeah, they did not make the jump, but they might be back.
That's too bad.
The league owns the copyright. Yeah, I'm looking at the wide receiver roster right now, and there's a lot of names like, oh yeah, that guy. There's not a lot of depth and talent here. Like, okay, Xavier Worthy for sure, Juju probably for sure, Jalen Royals obviously, Rashee Rice obviously, Hollywood Brown obviously. After that, I don't know that I like Remigio as a kick returner whose listed position is wide receiver. Devin Hester was listed as a wide receiver and had to play because they sucked so bad for a while.
Yeah.
But his position was kick returner and punt returner. I don't think the Chiefs should waste roster spot, and waste is maybe mean, but I don't think they should use roster spots on most of the other guys they have here. I would top out at 6 with Remigio and just be done with it.
Keep an extra DB.
Yeah.
Or an extra OL.
Badger's the kind of guy who you get on the practice squad. And if you needed him for a game, you can elevate him. That's no problem.
Definitely has the athletic ability and the intrigue to be a guy that you come away from training camp loving. Like if you were gonna bet on a guy being like the guy who makes all the plays in the second half of week 1 of the first preseason game, and you go, oh man.
Yeah. Maybe they have something here.
Yeah. He's got the real potential to be a preseason Pro Bowler.
Who are you? All right, you can keep one of these guys. The Chiefs need to pick the 53rd guy from the wide receiver room. Sky Moore, Justin Ross.
Oh, man.
Neither.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's Sky Moore, and I don't really think it's a discussion.
Yeah.
Justin Ross's whole thing is, I'm going to go up and get it, and he can't go up.
Yeah.
And it's
there's more production from Sky Moore than from Justin Ross. Like,
Yeah.
And look, it's not Ross's fault. It's his
No.
fault that he maybe doesn't know the playbook or hasn't taken a step forward. The injury ruined it.
yes, it's not his fault that his body broke down
Right.
and he didn't get a chance to develop as a player as a result.
And the thing about that really sucks is he is a body type that Chiefs do not like.
No.
6'4",
There's
lanky.
the reason he's been such a tease.
Right. Exactly. And you'd love to have a guy like that, but I don't think it's ever going to click for him. I don't think it's ever going to click for Moore either, but at the bare minimum, he's gotten on the field.
Yeah, and he's helped you on special teams, which Ross has never done. Yeah, that's.
I don't think either one is going to make the roster for what it's worth. I don't think either one does.
If they keep 7 wide receivers, one of them will. Because
Yes,
I
I
kind of
agree
do.
with that.
I kind of do think Remigio will end up being on the team, but they got 5 guys in front of him, and then if they keep one more,
if they keep 7, I agree. If they keep 6, I don't think either makes it.
We'll take a break, come back, preview tonight's Royals-Rangers affair in Arlington, coming up on 580 Sports Talk.
One little Easter egg, by the way, you can get if you haven't checked us out on the YouTube. So our camera in the studio fell down the other day. I think it was over the weekend it fell down.
Yeah.
It's currently at a slightly different angle than normal, but that means that if you look beyond where Dan and I are sitting right now, you can see the one and only Greg Akagi in a different booth.
It's Greg Akagi vision on the show today.
I mean, you could see me during the 3 o'clock hour.
That's true.
Yeah, that's also true. You can also see the reflection if you have the TV on, which I hope doesn't get us DMCA'd.
No, I think that's just enough protection. The reflection is all right.
In reverse. Royals trying to snap a 6-game skid tonight. They start a road trip in Arlington, deep in the heart of Texas, against the Rangers, for 36 and 36. Royals 2 games behind them, 34 and 38. Seth Lugo on the mound for KC tonight. Been a bit of a bumpier season for Lugo than last year. Still pitching to a good ERA, but the peripherals don't back it up. Giving up a little bit more contact, a lot more loud contact and home runs. Got to try to keep the ball in the ballpark tonight against this Rangers lineup. Evan Carter, remember him? He was the breakout star for the 2023 champs in September and October. He was awesome. Then last year he wrecked his back and barely played, didn't produce when he did play. Well, he's back and he's playing well, and he's in the leadoff spot, and he's in center field, and he's only 22. So still a lot of baseball ahead of Evan Carter. Wyatt Langford is in left field. He'll bat second. Corey Seager bats third at short. Marcus Semien, the cleanup hitter, at second base. Adolis Garcia is the right fielder batting fifth. Alejandro Osuna, who I had never heard of before I looked at today's Rangers lineup, is the DH. He is batting sixth, 22 years old. They just called him up from the minors. Jake Berger is at first base batting seventh. Jonah Heim does the catching. He bats eighth. Ezekiel Duran is the third baseman batting ninth.
I thought you were going to say Alejandro de Aza.
No, that's a different Alejandro.
White Sox legend.
The Royals with a familiar lineup tonight. Jonathan India is back in it after he got dinged on Friday night, didn't start Saturday or Sunday. He will lead off and play second base tonight. Bobby Witt Jr. is at short. Michael Garcia is at third. Vinny Pasquantino hitting cleanup at first base. Then Salvador Perez catching at Jack Caglione, DHing. The outfield bats 7, 8, 9. Drew Waters in left. John Rave in right. Kyle Isbell in center against Jack Leiter, the former number 2 overall pick for the Rangers.
Jack Leiter implies the existence of John Heavier.
I was going to say John Heavier.
Yeah. You're going to say Jack Heavier. I said John Heavier.
What is going on?
Dan is short-circuiting right now.
Yeah.
Get us to break. We can come back with a final word after this. We got a little more time for the final word on today's edition of 580 Sports Talk, so don't be afraid to stretch your legs, fellas. Brendan, you are out tomorrow and also Friday, and we're all off on Thursday, so it's your last final word of the week. Make it a good one.
Yeah, a little extra time, so a perfect opportunity to lay out my political agenda for you.
Oh, great.
No, on a serious note,
Thanks for the warning.
Dan asked Michael Swain during Jayhawk Weekly about KU's approach to commitment from high school kids and how that might also impact guys who stick around long term. Look, I can understand if you are against the way KU does things that, hey, you say commit, you're on the team. And if you go take more visits, you're done. You might say, well, we're going to lose out on more talent that way. whatever you think about that, fine. I am a believer, though, that philosophy has helped KU keep guys from entering the transfer portal. Some dudes leave. DJ Warner, he got a big old bag to leave. He went to, SMU, wherever he ended up. Good for him. It happens sometimes. You're never going to keep everybody every year. But I do believe that by picking high schoolers and taking commits from high schoolers who say, I want to be at KU above everything else. That is my number one want to be with this program. I do believe that helps with transfer portal retention later on. And I think that's why I've gotten more and more excited about this KU team going forward with the guys that are not Les Miles recruits, who are Leipold era recruits sticking around for this coming season. Makes me a little bit more excited about what this year can bring.
Spencer Dupuis, final word.
Yeah, Royals took a day off or had a day off yesterday. Players only meeting Saturday after the loss. We saw what Bobby Witt Jr. was able to do, back up, kind of being that young leader on Sunday, putting some offensive output there. I think it's time that the tides turn. And there's been a lot of consternation about Matt Quattrero and the job that he's done and not done maybe, but he said in the Sunday or the press conference on Sunday after the game, after the loss, that they had a similar situation last year. Maybe they were in a better position, but they can claw themselves out of it, and it all begins tonight.
Yeah, final word from me. We went through it at the top of the show. There are a lot of reasons why the Royals haven't hit a lot of home runs this season, and you can point to any one of them as being the most important reason why. There are factors within their control. There are factors beyond their control. There are factors that include physics as to why the Royals have hit so few home runs this season. But I do know this, unless they start hitting more home runs or start hitting better with runners in scoring position, preferably both. But they got to do one of the two. Otherwise, this is not going to be a very long season and very long pennant race that the Royals get to be a part of. We got overtime next. We will have more sports talk tomorrow from 3 until 6. For Brendan and Spencer, I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk. Adios.